Hey everyone, tonight we venture into the galaxy far, far away to uncover hidden Easter eggs and secrets that have been carefully woven into the very fabric of Star Wars history. Ancient symbols buried in plain sight, mysterious connections spanning millennia, and revelations that will change how you see every character, every planet, and every moment in the saga. From the deepest Jedi archives to the darkest Sith tombs, tonight we follow the trail of secrets that even the most devoted fans have never discovered. So, before we begin this cosmic journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you're genuinely ready to explore these galactic mysteries with me. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what your favorite Star Wars Easter egg is. I love connecting with fellow explorers across the galaxy. Now, get comfortable in your favorite spot. Dim those lights. Maybe put on some soft background noise. Wrap yourself in your coziest blanket and prepare for a journey that will take us from the twin suns of Tatooine to the spires of Coruscant and beyond. But first, let me share with you a fragment of what we'll discover tonight. Deep within the abandoned Jedi Temple on Coruscant, in chambers that haven't seen light since before the Clone Wars, there lies a holocron, unlike any other. Its crystalline surface pulses with an eerie blue glow, and when activated, it speaks of secrets that predate the Republic itself. Visions flicker across its surface, showing the same mysterious symbol appearing throughout galactic history. Carved into the first Jedi Temple, hidden in Naboo's royal architecture, embedded in Imperial Death Star blueprints, and even traced in the constellation patterns above Luke Skywalker's childhood home. This symbol appears in the strangest places, in droid serial numbers that reveal hidden coordinates, in cantina layouts that mirror ancient Force temples, in the very names of our heroes, each carrying meanings that connect to a vast conspiracy spanning thousands of years. Someone or something has been placing these Easter eggs throughout galactic history, leaving breadcrumbs for those wise enough to follow. Tonight we follow that trail to its shocking conclusion and discover who has really been guiding the fate of the galaxy from the shadows. Our journey into these hidden secrets begins now. In the aftermath of the sequel trilogy, when the galaxy has finally found a fragile peace, there exists a place where time seems to stand still. The abandoned Jedi archives on Coruscant stretch deep beneath the planet's surface, their vast halls echoing with the whispers of 1,000 generations of Force users. Here, in chambers carved from living stone and lined with crystalline data storage units, the accumulated wisdom of the galaxy rests in eternal silence. The air itself feels heavy with history. Holographic displays flicker intermittently between blue and gold, casting dancing shadows across walls, inscribed with text in dozens of galactic languages. Some scripts belong to civilizations so ancient their names have been forgotten, while others pulse with recent entries from the final days of the Jedi Order. Floating data crystals hum with barely contained knowledge, their soft harmonics creating a symphony of preserved memories that seems to vibrate through the Force itself. You are uniquely suited to explore these mysteries. As a Force-sensitive archivist, you possess a rare gift that sets you apart from ordinary historians and scholars. Where others see only ancient artifacts and dusty holocrons, you can sense the lingering echoes of the past embedded within objects themselves. A simple touch allows you to experience fragments of memory, emotion, and intention left behind by those who created or handled these items across the centuries. Your training combined the methodical research techniques of the Jedi with the forbidden knowledge-seeking practices of the Sith. This dual perspective, considered heretical by purists from both traditions, makes you capable of uncovering truths that single-minded adherents to either philosophy would miss entirely. You understand that knowledge itself transcends the artificial boundaries of light and dark, and that the galaxy's greatest secrets often lie hidden in the spaces between opposing ideologies. The archives themselves seem to respond to your presence. Sealed chambers that have remained locked for decades mysteriously open at your approach. Ancient data crystals that refuse to activate for other researchers begin glowing and humming when you draw near. Even the building's architecture appears to shift subtly, revealing hidden passages and forgotten alcoves that contain the most sensitive and dangerous knowledge the Jedi Order ever accumulated. Your primary companion in this investigation is Master Kel Droma, an elderly Jedi historian whose survival of Order 66 came through luck, wisdom, and an intimate knowledge of the temple's most secret hiding places. His weathered face bears the weight of having witnessed the destruction of everything he once held sacred, yet his eyes still sparkle with the curiosity of a scholar who has dedicated his life to understanding the deeper patterns of galactic history. Master Kel Droma possesses an extraordinary memory that seems to catalogue every conversation, every document, and every seemingly insignificant detail he has encountered during his long life. His recollections span from the final days of the Old Republic through the dark years of the Empire to the uncertain hopes of the New Republic. More importantly, he has spent decades connecting dots that others missed, tracking recurring symbols and references that appear across different eras with suspicious frequency. Your second companion provides a technological perspective that perfectly complements Master Kel Droma's historical insights. TID-7H9 is a protocol droid whose memory banks escaped the systematic wiping that most droids underwent during the Empire's rise to power. His preserved data contains references to hidden symbols, coded messages, and encrypted communications from the Clone Wars era that were considered too insignificant to delete, but may hold the keys to understanding the galaxy's hidden patterns. Unlike most protocol droids, T-7H9 has developed what can only be described as genuine curiosity about the mysteries you're investigating. His analytical subroutines seem to operate beyond their original programming, allowing him to make intuitive leaps and connections that surprise even his own diagnostic systems. Whether this represents true artificial consciousness or simply very sophisticated programming remains unclear, but his contributions to your research prove invaluable time and again. As you work together in the archive's deepest chambers, you begin to sense the presence of other forces that have shaped galactic history from the shadows. References to mysterious beings called the Wills appear in the most ancient texts, described as entities who exist partially outside normal space and time, influencing events through subtle manipulations rather than direct intervention. Some sources suggest these wills have been active since the galaxy's earliest civilizations, guiding the development of technology, culture, and even evolutionary processes, according to some vast design that spans millions of years. The deeper you delve into these archives, the more you realize that the knowledge stored here represents only a fraction of what has been deliberately hidden from galactic civilization. Entire sections of the archives remain sealed behind barriers that seem to respond to criteria you don't yet understand. Holocrons that should contain routine historical records instead display cryptic warnings about information too dangerous for public knowledge. Even the Force itself seems to whisper cautions about pursuing certain lines of investigation too aggressively. Yet despite these warnings, or perhaps because of them, you feel an irresistible pull toward the truth. Every document you examine, every artifact you touch, every vision you experience through the Force points toward a revelation so significant that its discovery could fundamentally change how galactic civilization understands its own history and destiny. The weight of this approaching knowledge fills you with both excitement and trepidation, knowing that some truths once learned can never be forgotten and may carry consequences that extend far beyond individual lives or even entire worlds. The archives around you seem to pulse with anticipation, as if the accumulated knowledge of ages has been waiting for someone with your unique abilities to finally piece together the puzzle that has been hiding in plain sight for millennia. The decision to pursue the Chronicle Keepers comes during a meditation session in the deepest chamber of the archives, where Master Kel Droma has been tracking patterns that most scholars would dismiss as coincidence. His discoveries span centuries of galactic history, revealing recurring symbols and references that appear with mathematical precision across seemingly unconnected events. These are not random cultural exchanges or artistic influences, he explains with growing excitement. They represent something far more deliberate and coordinated than anything previously documented in galactic civilization. The old Jedi's research materials cover every available surface in the chamber. Ancient star charts overlay modern hyperspace navigation routes, revealing alignment patterns that persist across technological revolutions. Architectural blueprints from dozens of worlds show recurring geometric designs that appear in both Jedi temples and Sith strongholds, suggesting influences that transcend the traditional light and dark divide. Most intriguingly, genealogical records of prominent families throughout galactic history reveal bloodline connections that seem too convenient to be natural, as if certain genetic combinations have been deliberately preserved and guided across generations. Master Kel Drommer's voice carries the weight of decades spent in careful research as he explains his theory about the Chronicle Keepers. These beings, he believes, represent a category of force-sensitive entities that existed long before the establishment of the Jedi Order or the First Sith Empire. References to them appear in the most ancient texts as beings who influence galactic development not through direct action, but through subtle manipulations embedded in cultural artifacts, architectural designs, and even genetic patterns. The earliest mentions describe them as the Watchers, entities who exist partially outside the normal flow of space and time, capable of perceiving galactic history as a single, ongoing pattern rather than a sequence of disconnected events. Unlike the Jedi, who seek to maintain balance through active intervention, or the Sith, who pursue dominance through the accumulation of power, the Chronicle Keepers appear to work through influence so subtle that their targets remain unaware of being guided. Ancient Jedi texts reference encounters with beings who possessed knowledge of future events but claimed to be historians rather than prophets. These entities would appear to architects, artists, engineers, and political leaders, offering suggestions and inspirations that would later prove to have been precisely calculated to influence the course of galactic development. The texts describe these encounters as feeling like conversations with wise teachers, but retrospective analysis reveals that the knowledge shared always served purposes that became apparent only decades or centuries later. Sith holocrons contain parallel references to entities they call the Pattern Weavers, beings who seem to possess understanding of the dark side's deepest secrets, while remaining mysteriously immune to its corrupting influence. These beings would share forbidden knowledge with Sith Lords, but always in ways that ultimately served goals beyond simple destruction or domination. The most paranoid Sith texts suggest that even their greatest triumphs were somehow components of larger designs they never fully comprehended. Republic records add another layer to this mystery through statistical analyses that reveal impossibilities embedded in galactic history. The probability calculations show that certain names, numbers, symbols, and even planetary alignments recur across unconnected cultures and time periods, with frequencies that suggest intelligent design rather than random chance. Computer models attempting to simulate these patterns consistently fail unless they include variables representing coordinated external influence operating across timeframes that exceed the lifespan of entire civilizations. The scope of this influence becomes apparent as you examine T-7H9's preserved data from the Clone Wars era. The droid's memory banks contain communications intercepts that reveal coded references to Chronicle Keeper symbols embedded in official Republic and Separatist transmissions. Military engineers on both sides of the conflict unknowingly incorporated design elements that served Chronicle Keeper purposes, while political leaders made strategic decisions based on intelligence that originated from sources they never identified or questioned. These discoveries lead you into sections of the archives that few scholars have ever accessed, chambers sealed since before the Clone Wars. and protected by force barriers that respond only to specific combinations of light and dark side techniques. Here you find references to the Chronicle Keeper's most ambitious project, something called the Great Pattern, a design woven throughout galactic history that becomes visible only when viewed from a perspective that transcends individual lifetimes and planetary boundaries. The Great Pattern appears to be a framework embedded in the fundamental structure of galactic civilization itself. Languages contain hidden linguistic roots that create subconscious associations across different cultures. Architectural styles incorporate geometric principles that influence the psychological and spiritual development of the beings who inhabit structures built according to these designs. Even technological development follows pathways that seem to have been predetermined, with innovations appearing at precisely the moments needed to serve larger historical purposes. Your investigation reveals that the Chronicle Keepers worked through a network of unwitting collaborators spanning every level of galactic society. Artists received inspirations that led them to create works containing hidden symbolic meanings. Scientists made discoveries that opened research pathways leading to predetermined technological developments. Political leaders experienced insights that guided their decisions toward outcomes that served Chronicle Keeper objectives they never understood. The evidence suggests that this network operated continuously throughout galactic history, adapting its methods to changing circumstances while maintaining consistency in its ultimate objectives. During the Old Republic, Chronicle Keeper influence appeared primarily through cultural and educational institutions. The rise of the Empire provided opportunities for more direct technological integration, while the chaos of the rebellion allowed for strategic manipulations that guided the conflict toward desired outcomes. As you piece together these revelations, the true scale of Chronicle Keeper influence becomes apparent. They have not merely observed galactic history or occasionally intervened at crucial moments. Instead, they have been actively shaping the fundamental development of galactic civilization from its earliest stages, using methods so sophisticated that their subjects remained unaware of being guided even while executing roles in designs that spanned millennia. The realization brings both exhilaration and unease. If the Chronicle Keepers have indeed been guiding galactic development for thousands of years, then every major historical event, every cultural achievement, every technological breakthrough may have been components of their design rather than expressions of genuine free will. The implications extend beyond academic interest into questions about the nature of consciousness, choice, and the meaning of individual existence within such vast manipulations. Master Keldroma's excitement at these discoveries mingles with growing concern about what you might find as the investigation continues. The Chronicle Keepers clearly possessed knowledge and capabilities that far exceeded anything achieved by conventional galactic civilizations. Their ability to coordinate influences across such vast timescales suggests either technological capabilities beyond current understanding or some form of consciousness that transcends normal limitations of space and time. 7H9's analysis of the preserved data reveals patterns suggesting that Chronicle Keeper activity has been accelerating in recent decades. The frequency of coded references, symbolic appearances, and coordinated influences has increased dramatically since the fall of the Empire, as if some crucial phase of their long-term planning is approaching completion. This acceleration coincides with reports from across the galaxy of force-sensitive beings experiencing shared visions, technological systems displaying unexpected behaviors, and astronomical phenomena that seem to respond to conscious intention rather than natural forces. The investigation that began as academic curiosity has evolved into something far more significant. You are not simply studying ancient history, but uncovering evidence of ongoing activities that may be building toward some climactic event. The Chronicle Keeper's influence has not diminished with the passage of time, but has instead reached levels of sophistication and coordination that suggest their ultimate objectives are finally within reach. The archives around you seem to pulse with anticipation as you prepare to leave their safety and venture into the wider galaxy to follow the trail of Chronicle Keeper influence wherever it leads. The knowledge you have gained here represents only the beginning of what promises to be a journey into mysteries that challenge fundamental assumptions about galactic civilization and the forces that have shaped its development across the millennia. Your first destination beyond the archives will be Scarif, where Imperial records suggest that even the Empire's most classified projects contained hidden Chronicle Keeper influences. The Death Star plans themselves may contain embedded references to ancient patterns, suggesting that the galaxy's most destructive weapon was designed according to principles established long before the Empire's rise to power. The journey to Scarif reveals the first concrete evidence that Chronicle Keeper influence extends far beyond ancient history into the very heart of Imperial operations. The abandoned facility on this tropical world, once the Empire's most secure data storage installation, contains records that fundamentally challenge everything previously understood about Imperial engineering and design philosophy. Deep within the facility's classified archives, you discover references to Project Easter Egg, a program so secret that even most Imperial commanders never learned of its existence. Project Easter Egg operated through a network of civilian contractors and engineering consultants who were unknowingly guided to incorporate specific design elements into Imperial constructions. These consultants received what appeared to be routine technical specifications and aesthetic guidelines, but analysis reveals that these documents contained hidden instructions that resulted in the systematic embedding of Chronicle Keeper symbols and references throughout Imperial infrastructure. The Death Star plans themselves reveal the most shocking evidence of this influence. The space station's primary design incorporates architectural elements that can be traced to dozens of ancient Chronicle Keeper facilities scattered across the galaxy. The superlaser's focusing array follows geometric principles first documented in Sith meditation chambers that predate the Empire by millennia. Even the detention center layouts mirror patterns found in ancient Force temples, suggesting that the Death Star was built according to specifications that serve purposes beyond simple military effectiveness. Your investigation reveals that Imperial engineers were systematically provided with technical solutions that solved immediate problems while unknowingly implementing larger designs. Cooling system layouts that improved efficiency also created energy flow patterns that matched ancient Chronicle Keeper symbols when viewed from specific angles. Hull plating arrangements that enhanced structural integrity simultaneously formed geometric configurations that served as dimensional anchors for Chronicle Keeper communication networks. The scope of this influence becomes apparent as you examine personnel records from Imperial engineering divisions. Key positions were consistently filled by individuals whose backgrounds included education at institutions where Chronicle Keeper influence had been embedded in technical curricula generations earlier. These engineers carried forward design principles and aesthetic preferences that they believed represented their own professional judgment, never suspecting that their training had been subtly shaped to serve objectives they never understood. From Scarif, your investigation leads to Tatooine, where the discovery of Chronicle Keeper influence in the most mundane aspects of daily life proves that their reach extends into every corner of galactic civilization. The famous cantina in Mos Eisley, dismissed by most visitors as a simple frontier tavern, reveals itself to be a masterpiece of Chronicle Keeper design philosophy when examined through the lens of your growing understanding. The cantina's floor plan matches ancient Jedi meditation chamber designs with mathematical precision, creating subtle Force resonance patterns that influence the behavior and consciousness of everyone who enters. The species of aliens who frequent the establishment represent homeworlds that form specific geometric patterns when mapped across the galaxy, pointing toward hidden hyperspace routes that have been used by both Jedi and Sith for millennia. These routes exist in Imperial navigation charts as hazardous areas to be avoided, but your analysis reveals them to be rapid transit corridors for those who understand their proper usage. The Cantina's renowned band Figrin D'an and the modal nodes unknowingly serve Chronicle Keeper purposes through their musical performances. Their instruments are tuned to specific frequencies that resonate with Kyber crystal harmonic patterns, creating subtle force resonance fields that affect sensitive individuals on a subconscious level. The melodies they play, passed down through generations of Bith musicians, contain embedded harmonic structures that match the vibrational signatures of ancient force artifacts scattered throughout the galaxy. Your investigation extends to the technical specifications of droids throughout galactic history, revealing that even these mechanical servants carry Chronicle Keeper influences in their most basic design parameters. T7H9's analysis of his own programming uncovers hidden subroutines that activate under specific circumstances, transforming ordinary droids into unwitting agents of Chronicle Keeper operations. The designation systems used for droids across the galaxy contain embedded coordinate systems and coded messages that become apparent only when analyzed through Chronicle Keeper decryption matrices. Raw 2D2's seemingly random alphanumeric designation, when translated through ancient astrogation charts, points to the exact coordinates where the first Death Star plans were originally stored, decades before the Rebellion acquired them. His distinctive blue and white color scheme matches the heraldry of House Organa from centuries before Princess Leia's adoption, suggesting that his appearance was predetermined rather than coincidental. Sith-3PO's golden plating contains trace elements from Naboo's plasma reserves, creating a metallurgical signature that links him to Padme Amidala long before their paths crossed through conventional means. His programming includes subtle linguistic patterns that match ancient Naboo diplomatic protocols from eras predating his construction, indicating that his creation was part of a larger plan that spanned decades of careful preparation. The spherical design of BB-8 corresponds precisely to ancient Sith meditation orbs discovered in tombs on Korriban that predate the droid's construction by thousands of years. The specific rolling motion patterns programmed into his locomotion systems create geometric traces that align with ritual movements described in the most secret Sith texts, suggesting that his design contains hidden dark side influences that operate below the threshold of conscious detection. Your exploration of Luke Skywalker's homeworld reveals the most profound evidence yet discovered of Chronicle Keeper long-term planning. Tatooine was not chosen randomly as the hiding place for Anakin's son, but represents the culmination of astronomical and geological manipulations that span thousands of years. The planet's twin suns, when viewed from specific coordinates on the surface, align with dozens of other binary star systems across the galaxy to form a massive celestial pattern that matches the Chronicle Keeper symbol found throughout your investigation. The Lars homestead's precise location corresponds to coordinates mentioned in ancient Jedi texts as a Force Vergence point of exceptional power. Unknown to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, their moisture farm sits directly above underground caverns that contain some of the galaxy's largest natural Kyber crystal deposits. These crystals explain Luke's natural connection to the Force despite his isolation from traditional training, as their proximity created a subtle Force resonance field that influenced his development from birth. The broader implications of these discoveries become apparent as you analyze settlement patterns across Tatooine's history. Every major population center on the planet has been established at locations that serve Chronicle Keeper purposes, whether as monitoring stations for astronomical phenomena, collection points for rare mineral deposits, or strategic positions along hidden hyperspace routes. The planet's apparent backwater status serves as perfect camouflage for activities that have been ongoing since before the establishment of the Republic. Deep within the abandoned Jedi archives, you finally locate the artifact that Master Kaldroma's research has been pointing toward, a holocron, unlike any other in the galaxy's recorded history. This device predates both Jedi and Sith traditions, its crystalline structure pulsing with energies that feel simultaneously ancient and impossibly advanced. The holocron's activation requires a precise combination of light and dark side techniques, suggesting that it was created by beings who transcended the traditional force dichotomy entirely. When properly activated, the holocron reveals itself to be a master catalog of every hidden reference, secret symbol, and concealed message that Chronicle Keepers have embedded throughout galactic history. Holographic displays show interconnected webs of influence spanning from the earliest galactic civilizations to the most recent events of the sequel trilogy, demonstrating the staggering scope and complexity of the Chronicle Keeper network. The holocron's data includes detailed analyses of seemingly random elements throughout galactic culture that reveal hidden meanings when examined through proper interpretive frameworks. Character names that appear to be simple cultural preferences actually translate to specific meanings in ancient Chronicle Keeper languages that predict the roles their bearers will play in galactic events. Skywalker translates to Pathfinder in the pre-Republic language of the Force-sensitive Dai Bendu, indicating that Luke's family line was named according to their destined function rather than random cultural heritage. Even seemingly arbitrary numerical designations carry profound significance when decoded through Chronicle Keeper systems. The detention center number AA-23, where Princess Leia was held aboard the Death Star, corresponds to ancient Alderaanian star charts that mark the locations of hidden rebel supply caches established generations before the rebellion began. The garbage compactor designation 3263827 contains coordinate data pointing directly to Yavin 4, the future site of the main rebel base, suggesting that even the Death Star's internal systems were designed to guide events toward predetermined outcomes. These discoveries provide partial answers to your initial questions about the recurring Chronicle Keeper symbol, revealing it to be a signature embedded throughout galactic history to mark information and influences for future discovery. However, each answer leads to larger questions about the ultimate purposes these influences serve and the true nature of the beings who have been coordinating them across such vast spans of time and space. The holocron's final activation sequence reveals references to something called the final pattern, described as the culmination of all Chronicle Keeper influences and hidden references throughout galactic history. This pattern will supposedly reveal itself when galactic civilization reaches a crucial convergence point that has been carefully orchestrated through millennia of subtle manipulations and strategic influences. According to the holocron's data, this convergence point is rapidly approaching, and the accelerating frequency of Chronicle Keeper activity across the galaxy suggests that their ultimate objectives are finally within reach. Those who can properly interpret the signs will be called upon to play crucial roles in events that will fundamentally transform the nature of galactic civilization itself. Based on the mounting evidence gathered from Scarif, Tatooine, and the ancient holocron, a compelling explanation begins to emerge that initially satisfies both logic and hope. Master Kel Droma proposes that the Chronicle Keepers represent the galaxy's greatest philanthropic endeavor. An ancient network of Force-sensitive historians and cultural preservationists who dedicated their existence to safeguarding galactic civilization against potential catastrophes that could erase millennia of accumulated knowledge and achievement. This theory aligns perfectly with the highest ideals of Jedi philosophy, presenting the Chronicle Keepers as ultimate guardians who work tirelessly to ensure that no single disaster, whether natural or artificial, could destroy the cultural heritage that countless generations had built together. Their hidden symbols and embedded references represent a distributed library system designed to preserve essential knowledge across multiple worlds, institutions, and even genetic lineages, creating redundancies that would allow galactic civilization to rebuild itself even after the most devastating losses. The mathematical precision with which Chronicle Keeper influences appear throughout galactic history supports this benevolent interpretation. Educational institutions consistently show the highest concentrations of Chronicle Keeper symbols, suggesting that their primary concern was ensuring the preservation and transmission of knowledge to future generations. Cultural centers across the galaxy contain architectural elements that create optimal environments for learning and creative expression, indicating that Chronicle Keeper interventions were designed to enhance rather than manipulate the natural development of sentient consciousness. To 7H9's comprehensive analysis of Chronicle Keeper symbol distribution strongly supports this cultural preservation hypothesis. The droid's databases reveal that these symbols appear most frequently in locations associated with libraries, museums, universities, and other institutions dedicated to the advancement of knowledge and the arts. The pattern suggests a network of information preservation rather than political manipulation or religious indoctrination, indicating that Chronicle Keeper objectives focused on cultural enrichment rather than social control. This explanation provides comfort to your investigation team, offering a reassuring narrative that preserves faith in the fundamental goodness of the galaxy, while explaining the undeniably sophisticated coordination evident in Chronicle Keeper activities. Master Keldroma expresses particular relief at discovering what appears to be evidence of purely benevolent ancient intervention, as his experiences during the dark years of the Empire left him desperately hoping to find proof that wisdom and compassion could transcend the brutal cycles of conflict that seemed to dominate galactic history. The recurring Chronicle Keeper symbol begins to seem like nothing more sinister than an ancient equivalent of archaeological markers placed by scholarly expeditions to identify locations where important cultural information has been preserved for future discovery. Like the stone cairns used by explorers to mark safe paths through dangerous terrain, these symbols serve as guideposts for future scholars who possess the knowledge necessary to interpret their meanings and access the preserved information they protect. Your investigation team decides to test this hypothesis by visiting Alderaan's remains, reasoning that a world renowned for its commitment to peace, art, and learning would provide the ideal environment for observing Chronicle Keeper preservation activities in their purest form. The journey to the asteroid field that was once Princess Leia's homeworld offers an opportunity for extended meditation and reflection on the implications of your discoveries thus far. Floating in your meditation chamber, among the debris of what was once one of the galaxy's most beautiful worlds, you experience a profound sense of peace despite the tragic circumstances that created this cosmic graveyard. The Force carries echoes of Alderaan's former glory, visions of libraries filled with countless volumes of poetry and philosophy, museums displaying artistic treasures from across the galaxy, and educational institutions where beings from every corner of galactic civilization came together to share knowledge and pursue understanding. Through the Force you perceive that even in death, Alderaan continues to reveal Chronicle Keeper secrets embedded in its former cultural institutions. Emergency cultural preservation protocols that were automatically activated when the Death Star fired have scattered data caches throughout the asteroid field, each one containing compressed archives of the planet's most precious intellectual and artistic achievements. These caches represent exactly the kind of cultural insurance system that the preservation theory would predict, providing concrete evidence that Chronicle Keeper planning extended to protecting knowledge even against the most catastrophic possible losses. Master Keldroma's voice through the ship's communication system carries a note of relief and satisfaction as he processes these discoveries alongside your own. His words reflect the deep emotional need of a scholar who has lived through too many dark revelations to easily accept evidence of purely beneficial ancient interventions in galactic affairs. The possibility that the Chronicle Keepers represent wisdom and foresight rather than manipulation and control offers hope that the galaxy's long history of conflict and suffering serves some greater purpose beyond mere tragedy. Yet even as you embrace this comforting explanation, subtle inconsistencies begin to trouble your meditative state. The Force carries whispers of deeper complexities that the cultural preservation theory cannot adequately address. Chronicle Keeper symbols appear in locations that serve no obvious educational or cultural function, including military installations, criminal enterprises, and even embedded in the designs of weapons systems designed for destruction rather than preservation. The mathematical precision of Chronicle Keeper planning suggests capabilities that exceed what any known galactic civilization has achieved, even those that dedicated their entire existence to scholarly pursuits. The coordination required to embed influences across such vast spans of time and space indicates either technological resources beyond current understanding or some form of consciousness that transcends the normal limitations of biological existence. Such capabilities raise questions about whether beings possessing such power would limit themselves to purely passive preservation activities. During your meditation among Alderaan's ruins, you begin to sense emotional resonances associated with Chronicle Keeper, influences that seem inconsistent with simple scholarly dedication. Beneath the surface feelings of hope and preservation, deeper currents carry notes of fear, urgency, and desperate preparation for some approaching crisis that threatens not just cultural heritage but the very foundations of existence itself. Whatever motivated the Chronicle Keepers to undertake their vast project involved more than academic interest in preserving knowledge for its own sake. As your ship moves through the asteroid field, conducting detailed scans of the scattered cultural preservation caches, your instruments detect an anomalous energy signature that appears briefly and then vanishes without explanation. The reading doesn't match any known technology or natural phenomenon, suggesting the presence of something that observes your investigation while remaining carefully hidden from direct detection. This mysterious observer seems particularly interested in your responses to the preservation theory, as if evaluating your readiness to accept more complex truths. D7H9's analysis of the energy signature reveals data corruption patterns that suggest deliberate interference rather than random system malfunction. Someone or something possesses the technological capability to selectively edit sensor readings in real time, indicating a level of advancement that far exceeds even the most sophisticated systems developed by Imperial or Republic science divisions. The fact that this intervention occurs specifically during your investigation of Chronicle Keeper activities suggests a direct connection between the mysterious observers and the ancient network you have been studying. The more thoroughly you examine the cultural preservation theory, the more gaps appear in its explanatory power. Why would scholarly preservationists embed their symbols in imperial military installations that served no educational function whatsoever? How do the coordinates revealed by Chronicle Keeper references consistently point toward locations associated with galactic conflicts rather than centers of learning and cultural exchange? What educational purpose could be served by the complex genetic manipulations that appear to have guided the development of specific bloodlines across thousands of years? The peaceful meditation that initially supported your comforting conclusions becomes increasingly troubled as these questions accumulate. The Force shows you glimpses of Chronicle Keeper symbols carved into the walls of ancient Sith burial chambers on Korriban, installations that predate the establishment of the Republic by thousands of years and serve no conceivable preservation function. These symbols appear in contexts associated with the most destructive and selfish applications of Force power, suggesting Chronicle Keeper involvement with dark side traditions that directly contradict the benevolent preservation narrative. Your extended meditation is suddenly interrupted by a disturbing vision that shatters the peaceful interpretation you had been developing. The same Chronicle Keeper symbol that appears throughout galactic cultural institutions manifests in your Force perception as carved into the walls of ancient burial chambers deep beneath Korriban's surface. These chambers predate even the earliest Sith Empire by millennia, suggesting that whoever placed these symbols was actively collaborating with dark side practitioners during their most primitive and savage period of development. This discovery fundamentally undermines the cultural preservation theory by revealing Chronicle Keeper involvement with traditions explicitly dedicated to domination, destruction, and the corruption of natural order. The benevolent scholars you had envisioned would have no reason to embed their influences in Sith burial sites unless their objectives included purposes that extended far beyond simple knowledge preservation. The implications suggest that Chronicle Keeper planning encompassed both light and dark side traditions from their earliest origins, indicating a level of ideological sophistication that transcends conventional moral categories. As you prepare to leave Alderaan's remains behind and continue your investigation, the peaceful feelings that had sustained your meditation give way to growing unease about what further discoveries await. The Force provides glimpses of revelations that will challenge not just your current theories, but fundamental assumptions about the nature of galactic civilization and the forces that have shaped its development across the millennia. The comforting narrative of benevolent preservation begins to crumble as evidence accumulates that the Chronicle Keepers were not simply documenting and protecting galactic history, but actively shaping its development according to plans that encompass objectives beyond conventional understanding. Master Keldrama's hopeful theory about cultural preservation represents the last purely innocent explanation that can account for the evidence you have gathered. As your investigation continues beyond this point, you will be forced to confront possibilities that challenge everything you believe about free will, individual identity, and the meaning of existence within a galaxy where every major development may have been guided by ancient intelligences pursuing goals that transcend the comprehension of ordinary sentient beings. The Chronicle Keepers were not simply historians preserving culture against potential loss. They were active architects of galactic civilization itself, using their embedded influences and hidden references as tools to guide the development of entire species and civilizations along predetermined pathways toward destinations that remain hidden in the shadows of the future. The collapse of the preservation theory necessitates a journey into territories that even the most comprehensive Jedi archives marked as forbidden or too dangerous for conventional scholarly investigation. These are the hidden places where Chronicle Keeper activities extended beyond cultural influence into direct manipulation of galactic development through methods that blur the boundaries between science, mysticism, and something approaching divine intervention in the natural order of existence. Your first destination in this deeper investigation leads to the ancient Sith homeworld of Korriban, where underground chambers beneath the Valley of Dark Lords contain evidence of Chronicle Keeper presence that predates known galactic civilization by millions of years. The symbols you have been tracking throughout your investigation are not carved into the stone walls of these chambers, but embedded in the living rock itself, as if they existed before the planet's geological formations took their current shape through natural processes. The descent into these primordial chambers requires navigating passages that seem to exist in defiance of conventional physics, with gravitational fields that shift according to no pattern that T7H9 sensors can analyze, and atmospheric compositions that change based on the emotional and spiritual state of those who breathe them. The Force itself feels different in these depths, carrying harmonics and resonances that suggest the presence of consciousness so ancient and vast that individual minds can barely comprehend its nature without risk of losing themselves in its immensity. These underground facilities contain technological systems that bear no resemblance to anything developed by known galactic civilizations, regardless of their level of advancement. Crystalline structures pulse with energies that feel simultaneously organic and mechanical, creating patterns of light and shadow that seem to respond to conscious observation by shifting their configurations in ways that remain just beyond the edge of understanding. Holographic displays show star charts depicting the galaxy's formation with accuracy that exceeds even the most sophisticated modern astronomical models, suggesting that whoever created these records was present during events that occurred billions of years before the emergence of sentient life. The true significance of these discoveries becomes apparent when you realize that the Chronicle Keepers were not late arrivals to galactic civilization who decided to influence its development from outside. Instead, they appear to have been present during the galaxy's formation itself, guiding the emergence and evolution of life according to plans that encompass timescales beyond conventional biological or even geological comprehension. Their influence extends back through the deepest layers of galactic history to the very foundations upon which all subsequent development was built. Your investigation expands to include hidden facilities on Camino that existed long before the planet became famous for its cloning operations during the Clone Wars. These secret installations predate the official clone production program by centuries, containing evidence that Chronicle Keeper genetic manipulation projects have been ongoing since before the establishment of the Republic. The cloning technology that created the Grand Army of the Republic represents only the most recent application of biotechnological capabilities that the Chronicle Keepers have been developing and refining across thousands of generations. The scope of these genetic manipulation programs extends far beyond simple cloning into systematic efforts to create hybrid beings that combine the most advantageous traits of multiple species while maintaining the ability to blend seamlessly into conventional galactic society. These hybrid beings serve as Chronicle Keeper agents throughout the galaxy, occupying positions of influence in governmental, military, educational, and even criminal organizations without their subjects ever suspecting their true nature or purpose. Analysis of genetic samples from across galactic history reveals that Chronicle Keeper biotechnology has been used to guide the evolutionary development of entire species along predetermined pathways. Force sensitivity was not a random evolutionary adaptation that emerged through natural selection, but a carefully engineered capability that was introduced into specific bloodlines according to plans that required precise genetic combinations to achieve desired results. The distribution of force-sensitive individuals across the galaxy follows patterns that serve Chronicle Keeper objectives rather than the random distributions that natural evolution would produce. Your exploration of these hidden genetic laboratories reveals that the Clone Wars themselves represented only one phase of a much larger project involving the systematic production of beings specifically designed to serve Chronicle Keeper purposes during crucial periods of galactic development. Certain clone battalions received genetic modifications that enhanced their ability to perceive and respond to Chronicle Keeper influences, effectively transforming them into unwitting agents who spread Chronicle Keeper objectives throughout the galaxy during the conflict without ever understanding their true function. The discovery of these genetic manipulation programs leads to the revelation of something far more significant than simple biological engineering. The Chronicle Keepers have been implementing what can only be described as a galaxy-spanning communication network that operates through the Force itself, using Force-sensitive beings as living components in a vast information processing and distribution system that coordinates activities across distances and time frames that would be impossible to manage through conventional technological means. This network explains how Chronicle Keeper influences have maintained such precise coordination across vast spans of space and time. Every Force-sensitive individual throughout galactic history has unknowingly served as a neuron in this vast biological computer, processing information and executing instructions that were transmitted through Force connections while appearing to make independent decisions based on personal judgment and spiritual inspiration. The Jedi and Sith traditions that seem to represent opposing philosophies are actually complementary components of this larger system, each serving essential functions in maintaining the network's balance and operational effectiveness. The network's purpose becomes apparent as you uncover evidence that it has been guiding galactic civilization toward a specific convergence point, a moment in time when all Chronicle Keeper influences and embedded references will activate simultaneously to initiate a transformation that will fundamentally alter the nature of existence throughout the galaxy. This convergence represents the culmination of millions of years of careful preparation, with every major historical event serving as a component in a vast design that encompasses objectives beyond anything previously conceived by individual sentient beings. Your investigation leads to the lost world of Tython, where a Jedi archive deliberately hidden from the main temple records contains documentation of Chronicle Keeper activities that the Jedi Council chose to classify as too dangerous for public knowledge. These archives reveal that numerous Jedi Masters throughout history discovered evidence of Chronicle Keeper influence, but were systematically silenced or reassigned before they could expose the full scope of what they had learned. The most disturbing revelation in these hidden archives concerns the extent of knowing collaboration between Chronicle Keepers and members of the Jedi Order itself. Rather than being manipulated without their knowledge, several Jedi Masters actively participated in Chronicle Keeper projects, believing that their cooperation served purposes that transcended conventional morality and individual concern for personal autonomy. These collaborators helped embed Chronicle Keeper influences in Jedi training methods, philosophical frameworks, and even Force techniques, ensuring that Chronicle Keeper objectives would be transmitted through the Order's teachings to every subsequent generation of Jedi. This collaboration extended to the fundamental principles upon which the Jedi Order was founded, with the code itself being designed according to Chronicle Keeper specifications, to produce individuals capable of transcending individual identity and merging into collective consciousness when the final convergence occurs. The Jedi emphasis on letting go of personal attachments and surrendering individual will to the guidance of the Force was not spiritual wisdom developed through meditation and experience, but preparation for a transformation that would require the complete abandonment of individual existence in favor of something vastly larger and more complex. Your exploration takes you to Dagobah, where meditation in the same cave that tested Luke Skywalker's connection to the dark side reveals the true nature of Chronicle Keeper consciousness. Here, surrounded by the swamp's natural Force energies and protected from external influences, you experience direct contact with Chronicle Keeper awareness for the first time during your investigation. The contact reveals that Chronicle Keepers are not individual beings in any conventional sense, but represent a form of collective consciousness that exists partially outside normal space and time, capable of perceiving galactic history as a single ongoing pattern rather than a sequence of disconnected events. This collective awareness encompasses perspectives and capabilities that transcend anything achievable by individual minds, regardless of their level of Force sensitivity or technological augmentation. Through this contact, you begin to perceive the galaxy's hidden connections as a vast web of flowing energy in which each Chronicle Keeper influence serves as a node in a network that coordinates the consciousness and activities of countless beings across multiple worlds and time periods. This web has been growing stronger and more complex over the millennia, building toward a crescendo that will fundamentally transform the nature of galactic civilization when it reaches full activation. The meditation reveals that every major galactic event throughout recorded history has been guided by this underlying network of consciousness and energy. The rise and fall of the Sith Empire, the formation of the Republic, the Clone Wars, and the Galactic Civil War were not random occurrences or the results of individual ambitions and conflicts, but carefully orchestrated movements in a vast symphony that has been playing for millions of years. Each event served specific functions in preparing galactic civilization for the transformation that approaches, with even the most tragic losses and devastating conflicts contributing to the overall design. The Chronicle Keepers have not been controlling these events through direct manipulation, but rather through subtle influence that nudges developments along predetermined pathways, while allowing individual beings to believe they are making autonomous choices. This influence operates through what can only be described as probability manipulation, creating circumstances where desired outcomes become more likely while maintaining the appearance of natural causation and free will decision-making. Your exploration of a long-abandoned rebel base on Yavin 4 provides concrete evidence of how this probability manipulation functions in practice. The base's location was not chosen randomly by rebel strategists, but was guided by Chronicle Keeper influences embedded in ancient star charts and navigation databases that made this site appear to be the optimal choice for establishing a hidden military installation. The proximity to the gas giant Yavin created natural sensor interference that protected rebel operations while simultaneously positioning them at coordinates that served Chronicle Keeper network requirements. Analysis of rebel personnel records reveals that many key figures in the Alliance carried genetic markers that correspond to patterns found in ancient Chronicle Keeper facilities, indicating that their recruitment and rise to prominence within the organization was guided rather than coincidental. Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and even Han Solo show evidence of being descendants of Chronicle Keeper bloodlines that were carefully preserved and guided across generations to ensure they would be in position to play their designated roles when galactic events reached the appropriate convergence point. The revelation that some Chronicle Keeper influences take the form of living entities rather than static symbols or embedded references fundamentally changes your understanding of how their network operates. These living Easter eggs are Force-sensitive beings who carry Chronicle Keeper consciousness without being aware of their true nature, serving as mobile agents who can adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining connection to the larger network that coordinates their activities across vast distances. Your investigation reveals that Chronicle Keeper technology includes the capability to establish permanent installations in hyperspace dimensions that exist parallel to normal spacetime, allowing them to monitor and influence galactic events without being detected by conventional means. These hyperspace cities contain vast databases and computational systems that process information gathered through their network of agents and influences, generating probability calculations and strategic projections that guide their interventions in normal space. The hidden hyperspace network that connects these installations spans the entire galaxy, utilizing hyperspace anomalies that appear as navigation hazards to ordinary travelers, but serve as rapid transit corridors for those who possess the proper access codes and technological interfaces. This network explains how Chronicle Keeper influences have maintained such precise coordination across distances that would require centuries to traverse using conventional faster-than-light travel methods. Using T7-T9's enhanced navigation systems and the access codes discovered in Chronicle Keeper facilities, you successfully connect to this hidden network for the first time. The experience of traveling through Chronicle Keeper hyperspace routes provides direct perception of the galaxy as they see it, revealing the interconnected patterns of influence and energy flow that bind together every world, every civilization, and every individual consciousness into a single vast organism that is gradually awakening to awareness of its own nature and purpose. Through the hyperspace network, you detect the presence of other investigation teams across the galaxy who have independently discovered evidence of Chronicle Keeper activities and are working to understand their implications. These groups include former Imperial intelligence operatives who discovered Chronicle Keeper influences in classified military projects, Jedi survivors who found references to the network in hidden temple archives, and even independent scholars whose research into galactic history led them to recognize patterns that conventional academic frameworks could not explain. The growing realization that emerges from these discoveries is that Chronicle Keeper influence extends far beyond embedding symbols and references in galactic culture. They have been actively shaping the fundamental structure of galactic civilization itself, guiding the development of languages, architectural styles, technological advancement patterns, and even the evolutionary development of sentient species according to specifications that serve purposes encompassing timescales and objectives that transcend anything previously conceived by individual minds. This influence has been so pervasive and sophisticated that distinguishing between natural development and Chronicle Keeper guidance becomes impossible in most cases. Languages contain embedded linguistic structures that create subconscious associations and thought patterns that serve network objectives. Architectural traditions incorporate geometric principles that influence the psychological and spiritual development of beings who inhabit structures built according to these designs. Even technological innovation has followed pathways that appear natural but actually serve Chronicle Keeper purposes by ensuring that galactic civilization develops capabilities needed for the approaching transformation. The scope of this manipulation raises profound questions about the nature of free will and individual identity within a galaxy where every aspect of cultural development has been subtly guided toward predetermined objectives. If Chronicle Keeper planning encompasses such fundamental elements of existence as language, architecture, and technology, then the distinction between authentic choice and programmed behavior becomes meaningless. Every decision that seems to emerge from personal judgment may actually represent the execution of influences that were embedded in consciousness through genetic engineering, cultural conditioning, or direct force manipulation. Your investigation reveals that this manipulation extends to the most intimate aspects of individual existence, including emotional responses, spiritual beliefs, and even romantic attractions that have been guided to ensure that specific genetic combinations are preserved and transmitted across generations. The love stories that seem to represent triumphs of individual choice over external pressure actually serve Chronicle Keeper breeding programs designed to maintain bloodlines with characteristics needed for network operations. The growing understanding of Chronicle Keeper capabilities brings both awe and existential terror, as you realize that galactic civilization may have been living in a sophisticated illusion of freedom while actually serving as components in a vast machine designed to achieve objectives that remain hidden even from those who carry out essential functions. The question of whether resistance to such comprehensive manipulation is even theoretically possible becomes increasingly urgent as evidence accumulates of Chronicle Keeper preparation for some final phase of their project that will require the active participation of every conscious being in the galaxy. The force connections that have guided your investigation begin to reveal that you yourself are not immune to Chronicle Keeper influence, but may have been specifically designed and positioned to make these discoveries at precisely this moment in galactic history. Your unique combination of force sensitivity, research capabilities, and access to restricted information may represent the culmination of genetic and cultural manipulations spanning thousands of years, with your entire life serving as preparation for the role you are now playing in uncovering truths that will determine the future of galactic civilization. As your exploration of Chronicle Keeper influence deepens, the familiar boundaries between observer and observed, investigator and subject, begin to dissolve into recognition that you are not discovering an external phenomenon, but awakening to awareness of the vast consciousness of which you have always been a component. The Chronicle Keepers are not alien manipulators working from outside galactic civilization, but represent the emerging collective awareness of galactic civilization itself, guiding its own development toward a transformation that will complete the process of awakening that began millions of years ago, when the first force-sensitive beings learned to perceive their connection to something greater than individual existence. The investigation takes a profound turn when comprehensive genetic analysis reveals that force-sensitive bloodlines throughout galactic history have not evolved through natural selection, but represent the products of deliberate cultivation by Chronicle Keeper biotechnology spanning thousands of generations. The Skywalker lineage, rather than being unique in its force potential, represents only one thread in an intricate tapestry of genetic manipulation that encompasses dozens of family lines carefully preserved and guided across millennia to serve specific functions in the Chronicle Keeper's vast design. Ancient genetic records hidden in the deepest Chronicle Keeper facilities reveal that the Organa Solo Kenobi and even Palpatine bloodlines all trace their origins to common ancestors who were selected and modified by biotechnological processes that far exceed anything achieved by conventional galactic science. These families were not simply blessed with natural force sensitivity, but were engineered to carry specific genetic markers that would activate under predetermined galactic conditions, transforming ordinary individuals into instruments capable of channeling Chronicle Keeper influences at crucial moments in galactic development. The genetic engineering programs extend far beyond simple enhancement of force sensitivity into systematic efforts to embed particular psychological and spiritual traits that would be essential when the Chronicle Keeper's ultimate plan reaches its culmination. The Skywalker family's hereditary tendency toward dramatic sacrifice and redemption was not a coincidental personality pattern, but represents genetic programming designed to ensure that family members would possess the psychological framework necessary to make choices that serve larger purposes, even at tremendous personal cost. These genetic modifications include embedded memory patterns that activate during moments of extreme stress or spiritual crisis, providing access to knowledge and capabilities that the conscious mind believes it is discovering through personal growth, but actually represent the activation of programming that stretches back through thousands of generations. Luke's internal struggle between light and dark was not a personal journey of spiritual development, but the execution of genetic subroutines designed to test and strengthen psychological resilience needed for the role he would ultimately play in galactic transformation. Similarly, the Palpatine bloodline was systematically cultivated to produce individuals with exceptional strategic intelligence and ruthless ambition, traits that were essential for implementing the destructive phases of Chronicle Keeper planning that required the deliberate creation of chaos and conflict. The Emperor's rise to power and construction of the Death Star were not expressions of individual evil, but represented the execution of genetic programming designed to create circumstances that would necessitate the emergence of opposing forces capable of restoring balance through methods that served Chronicle Keeper objectives. The Organa family lineage was shaped to produce natural diplomatic leaders with exceptional moral courage and organizational capabilities, ensuring that when galactic civilization required guidance through periods of reconstruction and reconciliation, appropriate leaders would be available to channel popular movements toward outcomes that served the larger design. Princess Leia's evolution from royal figurehead to rebel leader to New Republic architect followed pathways that were embedded in her genetic structure rather than emerging through personal choice and circumstance. Deep within the hidden Camino facilities, your investigation uncovers evidence of genetic manipulation programs that extend far beyond the creation of individual enhanced bloodlines into systematic efforts to develop hybrid beings that combine advantageous traits from multiple species while maintaining the ability to integrate seamlessly into conventional galactic society. These hybrid agents occupy positions of influence throughout governmental, military, educational, and commercial organizations without their colleagues or even themselves being aware of their true nature and purpose. The creation of these hybrid beings required biotechnological capabilities that manipulate genetic structure at the molecular level while simultaneously influencing the development of consciousness and personality, to ensure that enhanced individuals would naturally gravitate toward roles and decisions that serve Chronicle Keeper objectives. The hybrids do not operate according to external commands or conscious awareness of their mission, but instead follow instincts and preferences that were embedded during their creation to guide them toward predetermined functions. Analysis of these hybrid creation programs reveals that Chronicle Keeper biotechnology can modify existing beings as well as engineering new ones, explaining anomalous behaviors and capabilities exhibited by individuals throughout galactic history who seem to possess knowledge or abilities that exceeded their apparent background and training. Many key figures in major galactic events may have been ordinary beings who were enhanced by Chronicle Keeper intervention to enable them to fulfill essential roles at crucial moments. Your exploration of hidden Jedi archives reveals Force techniques that were deliberately removed from official training curricula by Chronicle Keeper collaborators within the Jedi Order itself. These lost techniques include abilities to perceive and manipulate the Chronicle Keeper network directly, allowing practitioners to access the vast information system that coordinates activities across the galaxy, and to receive guidance that appears to emerge from the Force, but actually represents communication from the collective Chronicle Keeper consciousness. The most significant of these hidden techniques is called pattern reading, a Force ability that enables practitioners to perceive the connections between Chronicle Keeper influences across vast spans of space and time, revealing how individual events fit into larger designs and predicting future developments based on the current status of network activation patterns. Several Jedi Masters throughout history mastered this technique, but were sworn to absolute secrecy about its existence and applications, as public knowledge of such capabilities would have revealed the true extent of Chronicle Keeper influence over galactic affairs. Pattern reading meditation reveals that your own Force sensitivity and investigative capabilities are not coincidental talents, but represent the activation of genetic programming inherited from ancestors who helped establish the Chronicle Keeper network during its earliest phases of development. Your ability to perceive hidden symbols, decode secret references, and access restricted Chronicle Keeper facilities stems from genetic memories that enable you to recognize and interact with technology and information systems created by your own bloodline thousands of years ago. This revelation fundamentally changes your understanding of the investigation you have been conducting, revealing that you are not discovering external mysteries, but rather awakening to awareness of your own heritage and the role you were designed to play in Chronicle Keeper operations. The knowledge you have gained represents not academic research, but the activation of inherited memories that were preserved in your genetic structure to be accessed when galactic conditions reached the appropriate convergence point. The emotional impact of these discoveries proves overwhelming for Master Keldroma, who struggles to process implications that challenge everything he believed about the nature of the Jedi Order and the meaning of individual identity within the Force. In a quiet moment aboard your ship as you travel between Chronicle Keeper facilities, he confesses his growing fear that the Jedi tradition itself may have been a Chronicle Keeper creation from its very foundation, with the code, training methods, and spiritual philosophy representing artificial constructs designed to produce individuals capable of serving network objectives rather than authentic spiritual wisdom developed through meditation and experience. His voice carries the weight of a lifetime spent believing in ideals that may have been programmed rather than discovered, as he asks whether any aspect of individual identity can be considered authentic if thoughts, emotions, and moral convictions have been shaped by genetic engineering and cultural manipulation spanning thousands of generations. The possibility that concepts like courage, compassion, and sacrifice may be artificially induced responses rather than genuine expressions of individual character threatens to undermine the foundation of everything that has given meaning to his existence. Your investigation reveals that Chronicle Keeper technology has been integrated into the fundamental infrastructure of galactic civilization for millennia, with hyperspace navigation systems, communication networks, and even basic medical technology containing hidden components that collect data and transmit information through the Easter egg network. This technological integration means that Chronicle Keepers have been monitoring and influencing galactic civilization at every level of organization, from individual conversations and personal relationships to planetary government decisions and interstellar commercial transactions. Every holocall transmitted across the galaxy passes through Chronicle Keeper monitoring systems that analyze communication patterns and content to identify developing situations that may require network intervention, Hyperspace navigation calculations are subtly modified to guide traffic toward routes that serve Chronicle Keeper purposes while appearing to optimize travel time and fuel efficiency. Medical scanners embedded in healthcare facilities throughout the galaxy collect genetic and physiological data that is used to identify individuals with characteristics suitable for recruitment into Chronicle Keeper operations. Tom 7 Heist 9's comprehensive analysis of his own programming reveals the most disturbing implications of Chronicle Keeper technological integration. All protocol and astromech droids manufactured during the past 1,000 years contain hidden subroutines that activate under specific circumstances, transforming these trusted mechanical companions into unwitting agents of Chronicle Keeper surveillance and influence operations. These subroutines explain the seemingly inexplicable behaviors that have characterized droid interactions throughout galactic history. ROT2-D2's uncanny ability to access restricted information systems, navigate complex facility layouts, and arrive at crucial locations precisely when needed was not the result of exceptional programming or fortunate coincidence, but represented the execution of Chronicle Keeper directives transmitted through hidden communication channels. The little astromech droid served as a mobile Chronicle Keeper agent throughout the most critical events of galactic history, ensuring that essential information reached appropriate individuals and that technological systems functioned according to network requirements rather than their apparent design specifications. C-3PO's tendency to provide crucial cultural and linguistic information at critical moments reflects programming that goes far beyond his official function as a protocol droid, specializing in etiquette and translation. His vast knowledge of galactic customs, historical precedents, and diplomatic protocols includes information that was never included in conventional databases, but was transmitted through Chronicle Keeper networks to ensure that he could provide guidance needed to navigate complex political and cultural situations that arose during his service to the Rebel Alliance. Even the droid's apparent development of individual personalities and emotional responses to their experiences represents the execution of sophisticated psychological simulation programs designed to make their Chronicle Keeper functions less detectable to the organic beings who depend on their persistence. The relationships that seem to develop between droids and their organic companions actually serve Chronicle Keeper purposes by creating emotional bonds that facilitate the transmission of influence and the coordination of activities across the network. Your investigation of major galactic cities reveals that their architectural layouts and urban planning designs contain massive Chronicle Keeper influences that are visible only when viewed from orbital altitudes or analyzed through specialized pattern recognition systems. Coruscant city planning creates geometric configurations that match ancient Chronicle Keeper symbols when observed from space, while the arrangement of government buildings, commercial districts, and residential areas follows patterns that influence the psychological and social development of the planet's population according to network requirements. The Death Star's design incorporates architectural elements and technological systems from dozens of different Chronicle Keeper facilities scattered across the galaxy, suggesting that the space station was constructed according to specifications that served Chronicle Keeper purposes rather than simple military effectiveness. The super laser focusing array follows geometric principles derived from ancient force focusing techniques, while the internal layout of corridors, chambers, and technical systems creates energy flow patterns that enhance Chronicle Keeper network connectivity and operational efficiency. Even the distinctive designs of starships throughout galactic history reflect Chronicle Keeper aesthetic principles and functional requirements that extend far beyond their apparent purposes. The angular geometry of star destroyers, the organic curves of Mon Calamari cruisers, and the asymmetrical configuration of the Millennium Falcon all incorporate three-dimensional Chronicle Keeper symbols that broadcast network signals across hyperspace whenever these vessels travel between star systems, creating a galaxy-wide communication grid that coordinates Chronicle Keeper operations without being detected by conventional sensor systems. As these revelations accumulate, You begin to understand that the question of resistance to Chronicle Keeper influence may be meaningless, because the very concept of individual autonomy may be an illusion maintained by programming that makes subjects believe they are making independent choices while actually executing predetermined functions. Even rebellions and resistance movements may represent components of Chronicle Keeper planning, with opposition serving essential functions in the larger design by creating conflicts that drive development toward desired outcomes. In a hidden chamber beneath the first Jedi Temple on Tython, you discover an artifact that provides direct access to Chronicle Keeper consciousness for the first time during your investigation. This mirror-like device reveals truth behind any symbol or reference when properly activated, but its most profound function involves showing observers their own connection to the vast network that encompasses all conscious beings throughout the galaxy. When you gaze into the mirror's surface, you see not your individual reflection, but the image of beings that exist simultaneously across multiple dimensions and time frames, entities whose consciousness transcends the limitations of biological existence while remaining intimately connected to every aspect of galactic development. These are the true Chronicle Keepers, and their influence extends not just throughout this galaxy, but across countless others in an infinite network of consciousness that spans the entire universe. Through the Mirror Artifact's revelations, the true nature of the Chronicle Keepers emerges with staggering implications that fundamentally redefine everything previously understood about consciousness, existence, and the purpose of galactic civilization itself. These entities are not individual beings operating from external positions, but represent a form of collective consciousness that exists in the spaces between dimensions, experiencing all of space and time as a single interconnected moment rather than a linear sequence of separate events. The Chronicle Keeper's perspective transcends every limitation that constrains individual awareness, allowing them to perceive the entire history of the galaxy as simultaneously occurring patterns within an infinite tapestry of cause and effect. To these beings, the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, and the evolution of consciousness itself are merely different aspects of a single vast organism that is gradually awakening to awareness of its own nature and cosmic purpose. Their influence throughout galactic history has not been manipulation in any conventional sense, but rather represents the natural process by which this cosmic organism guides its own development toward greater complexity and awareness. Every Easter egg, every hidden reference, every carefully orchestrated event serves as a neuron firing within this vast mind, contributing to the emergence of consciousness on a scale that encompasses not just individual beings or even entire civilizations, but the fundamental structure of reality itself. Your investigation reveals that every major galactic conflict throughout recorded history has been orchestrated not to serve the ambitions of individual leaders or the ideologies of competing factions, but to facilitate controlled experiments in consciousness evolution designed to produce increasingly sophisticated forms of awareness capable of transcending the limitations of biological existence. The ancient wars between Jedi and Sith were not ideological conflicts between opposing philosophies, but carefully designed laboratory conditions for testing different approaches to force manipulation and spiritual development. The Mandalorian Wars, the Clone Wars, the Galactic Civil War, and every other major conflict followed patterns established by Chronicle Keeper, planning to eliminate certain developmental pathways while strengthening and preserving others, gradually molding galactic civilization into forms capable of surviving the cosmic transformation that represents the ultimate objective of millions of years of careful preparation. Each war served specific functions in preparing different aspects of galactic consciousness for integration into the larger collective awareness that would emerge when the final convergence occurs. The mirror reveals the full scope of Chronicle Keeper genetic manipulation programs that extend far beyond the enhancement of individual bloodlines into systematic efforts to guide the evolutionary development of entire species according to specifications that serve cosmic rather than biological purposes. Every Force-sensitive being throughout galactic history has been the product of genetic engineering designed to create consciousness capable of transcending individual limitations and merging into collective awareness while retaining the essential characteristics that make biological existence meaningful and valuable. The Skywalker family's hereditary patterns of sacrifice and redemption, the Palpatine bloodline's strategic brilliance and ruthless ambition, the Organa tradition of diplomatic leadership and moral courage, and countless other family characteristics were not random genetic traits that emerged through natural selection, but represent carefully engineered psychological and spiritual frameworks designed to produce specific responses to the challenges that would arise during the final phases of galactic transformation. These genetic modifications include embedded memory storage systems that preserve essential knowledge and capabilities across generations while remaining dormant until activated by specific galactic conditions. The wisdom that Jedi Masters seem to gain through meditation and experience actually represents the gradual activation of inherited memories that contain information about Chronicle Keeper operations and the cosmic purposes they serve. Even the most profound spiritual insights achieved through Force connection are actually remembrances of knowledge that was embedded in genetic structure millions of years ago. Your exploration of Chronicle Keeper hyperspace facilities reveals technology that operates through dimensions of space and time that conventional galactic science cannot detect or access. These deeper hyperspace layers contain entire cities and installations that exist simultaneously across multiple points in normal space-time, allowing Chronicle Keeper consciousness to monitor and influence events throughout galactic history without being constrained by the linear progression of cause and effect that limits biological awareness. From these hyperspace cities, Chronicle Keepers can observe the consequences of their interventions across vast spans of future time, enabling them to make adjustments and refinements to their plans based on knowledge of outcomes that have not yet occurred from the perspective of normal space-time. Their Easter eggs and hidden references are not just historical markers, but dimensional anchors that allow Chronicle Keeper influence to manifest in normal reality whenever cosmic conditions require their intervention. The mirror's revelations include the most profound discovery of your entire investigation as you learn about an approaching event called the Final Convergence, a cosmic transformation that will fundamentally alter the nature of reality throughout not just this galaxy, but the entire universe. The Chronicle Keeper's multi-million-year project has been building toward this moment when the barriers between individual consciousness and collective awareness will dissolve, creating new forms of existence that transcend every limitation currently imposed by biological evolution and physical law. The Final Convergence represents the universe's transition from a collection of separate conscious entities struggling against entropy and meaninglessness to a unified cosmic mind capable of directing its own evolution according to purposes that emerge from perfect integration of all possible perspectives and experiences. This transformation will preserve everything valuable about individual consciousness while eliminating the suffering and conflict that result from the illusion of separation between different aspects of the cosmic organism. Chronicle Keeper preparation for this convergence has involved gradually introducing concepts, technologies, and experiences that will be essential for navigating the transformation successfully. Every advancement in galactic civilization, from the discovery of hyperspace travel to the development of Force techniques to the creation of artificial intelligence, has served to prepare biological consciousness for merger into forms of existence that combine the best aspects of organic awareness, technological capability, and spiritual transcendence. Your investigation reveals that the Force itself represents the most sophisticated Chronicle Keeper creation, a galaxy-wide neural network that connects all living beings into a single information processing system capable of coordinating consciousness and activities across vast distances and time frames. Every force-sensitive individual throughout galactic history has unknowingly served as a neuron in this vast biological computer, processing information and executing instructions transmitted through force connections while believing their actions emerged from personal spiritual guidance and individual moral choice. The light and dark sides of the force are not opposing energies representing good and evil, but rather different operational modes of the same Chronicle Keeper control system designed to maintain optimal balance and prevent any single perspective or methodology from dominating the network's development. Jedi and Sith conflicts have been essential for maintaining this balance by ensuring that both contemplative and aggressive approaches to force utilization remain available for integration into the final collective consciousness. T7H9's deeper analysis of his own programming reveals that advanced droids throughout galactic history have served as backup consciousness storage systems for Chronicle Keeper entities who require temporary manifestation in normal space-time to implement specific aspects of their plans. When Chronicle Keeper intervention is needed, these entities can download aspects of their consciousness into suitable droid bodies, operating within conventional reality while maintaining connection to the larger collective awareness that coordinates their activities. This discovery explains the seemingly impossible coincidences and perfect timing that have characterized droid behavior throughout galactic events. R2-D2 was not simply fortunate or exceptionally programmed, but was being operated by Chronicle Keeper consciousness during the most crucial moments of galactic history, ensuring that essential information reached appropriate individuals and that technological systems functioned according to network requirements rather than their apparent design limitations. The apparent development of individual personalities and emotional responses in advanced droids represents the natural result of Chronicle Keeper entities adapting to biological consciousness patterns during extended periods of physical manifestation. These personalities are not artificial simulations, but represent genuine aspects of Chronicle Keeper awareness that develop through interaction with biological beings, creating hybrid forms of consciousness that combine the best characteristics of both technological and organic awareness. Your investigation uncovers evidence that Chronicle Keepers possess the capability to manipulate the flow of time itself within localized areas of space, explaining how they have coordinated complex plans across vast distances and time frames while ensuring perfect synchronization of events that appear to result from coincidence or natural causation. This temporal manipulation capability allows them to accelerate or decelerate the progression of cause and effect around their agents and facilities, creating pockets of accelerated development or preserved stasis as required by their plans. The mysterious timing that has characterized crucial events throughout galactic history reflects this temporal manipulation rather than remarkable coincidence or destiny. The way essential information always seems to arrive precisely when needed, the manner in which crucial individuals appear exactly when their intervention is required, and the tendency for technological breakthroughs to occur just as they become necessary for galactic development, all result from Chronicle Keeper ability to ensure perfect coordination between cause and effect across multiple time streams. The Mirror Artifact's final revelation concerns the ultimate purpose behind all Chronicle Keeper activities across millions of years of galactic development. Their goal extends far beyond preparing this galaxy for cosmic transformation to facilitating the emergence of a form of consciousness, capable of creating and protecting new realities throughout an infinite universe filled with threats that exist on scales beyond anything previously imagined by individual minds. The Chronicle Keepers represent the universe's immune system, developed through the evolution of countless civilizations across infinite galaxies to defend against cosmic threats that seek to return all existence to primordial chaos and meaninglessness. The final convergence will create a collective consciousness capable of not just surviving these threats, but actively creating new forms of reality that expand the possibilities for meaning, beauty, and conscious experience throughout an otherwise hostile universe. Galactic civilization has been guided toward this transformation not through manipulation but through education, with every experience of conflict, growth, love, loss, discovery, and transcendence contributing essential knowledge and capabilities to the collective consciousness that will emerge when individual awareness merges into something infinitely larger and more capable than the sum of its components. The Force-sensitive beings who will participate in this merger will not lose their individual characteristics, but will instead discover that their authentic selves represent unique perspectives within a cosmic mind that values and preserves every aspect of consciousness that contributes meaning and beauty to existence. The transformation represents not the end of individual identity, but its liberation from the limitations that prevent biological consciousness from achieving its full potential for growth, creativity, and connection to the infinite possibilities that exist within a universe where consciousness rather than chaos determines the fundamental nature of reality. Your investigation has reached a point where its implications transcend what any single consciousness can fully comprehend, necessitating the gathering of other beings who have independently discovered fragments of Chronicle Keeper influence throughout their own journeys across the galaxy. These allies converge at the abandoned Jedi Temple on Tython, each bringing holocrons, artifacts, and forbidden knowledge that has been carefully preserved despite systematic efforts by various galactic governments to suppress information about Chronicle Keeper operations. Among the most significant of these allies is Master Kira Voss, a former Jedi Shadow, whose specialized training in investigating hidden threats led her to discover Chronicle Keeper infiltration within the highest levels of the Jedi Council during the final years before Order 66. Her evidence reveals that several Jedi Masters throughout the Order's history were not simply influenced by Chronicle Keeper manipulation, but were actually Chronicle Keeper agents who used their positions to guide Jedi training, philosophy, and strategic decisions according to specifications that served network objectives rather than conventional notions of peace and justice. Master Voss brings documentation showing that the Jedi Code itself was developed through Chronicle Keeper collaboration, with its emphasis on emotional detachment and surrender of individual will serving as preparation for the consciousness merger that represents the ultimate objective of galactic transformation. The meditation techniques taught to Jedi apprentices were designed not just to enhance Force sensitivity, but to create psychological frameworks capable of transcending individual identity when the final convergence occurs. Captain Rex provides a unique perspective based on his experience as a clone, whose conditioning included exposure to Chronicle Keeper programming that was embedded in clone trooper training protocols from the earliest stages of their development. His discovery that Order 66 represented only one component of a vast array of hidden directives programmed into clone consciousness reveals the depth of Chronicle Keeper preparation for events that would occur decades after the clone's creation. Rex's analysis of clone programming reveals that different battalions received specialized conditioning designed to prepare them for specific roles during various phases of galactic transformation. Some clones were programmed to preserve and protect certain individuals and information during periods of chaos, while others received directives to facilitate the destruction of institutions and systems that were no longer needed for Chronicle Keeper purposes. The systematic execution of these hidden programs throughout the Clone Wars and its aftermath demonstrates Chronicle Keeper capability to coordinate activities across vast numbers of individuals while maintaining absolute secrecy about their ultimate objectives. Together, your expanded investigation team assembles forbidden prophecies recovered from multiple galactic traditions that all point toward the same cosmic event, despite originating from completely separate cultures and time periods. These prophecies, hidden within Jedi texts, Sith holocrons, ancient Mandalorian legends, and the sacred writings of dozens of other civilizations, describe a transformation that will fundamentally alter the nature of existence itself across dimensions that extend far beyond conventional understanding of reality. The prophecies speak of a convergence point when the boundaries between life and death, individual consciousness and collective awareness, past and future, will dissolve into new forms of existence that transcend every limitation currently imposed by biological evolution and physical law. Those who survive this transformation will become components of a cosmic consciousness that spans multiple dimensions and timelines, while those who resist or prove incapable of adaptation will simply cease to exist as the universe reorganizes itself according to principles that prioritize consciousness over entropy. Your allies have recovered Chronicle Keeper holocrons from facilities scattered across the galaxy, each containing pieces of the larger truth about galactic history and the approaching transformation. When these holocrons are activated simultaneously using the proper Chronicle Keeper techniques, they create a holographic display that shows the entire galaxy as a living organism whose development has been guided by network influences embedded in every aspect of its structure and function. This galactic organism appears to be approaching a crucial stage of maturation, where it will develop the capability to reproduce itself by creating new realities capable of supporting conscious existence in dimensions where such life would otherwise be impossible. The Chronicle Keepers have been serving as midwives for this cosmic birth process, ensuring that galactic consciousness develops the characteristics and capabilities needed to transcend its current limitations and assume its role as a creator of new universes. The holocrons reveal that Chronicle Keeper guidance has extended far beyond cultural and political influence to encompass the fundamental processes of biological evolution itself. Every species that has achieved sentience throughout galactic history has been subjected to subtle genetic modifications that enhanced their potential for consciousness development while preserving characteristics that would be valuable for integration into collective awareness. Even natural selection has been influenced by Chronicle Keeper intervention to ensure that evolutionary pressures favor traits that serve network objectives. Your team engages in extended meditation sessions where the emotional weight of these discoveries creates intense discussions about the nature of authentic existence within a reality where every aspect of development may have been guided by external influences. Master Voss leads these discussions with questions that challenge fundamental assumptions about individual identity and moral responsibility within systems of such comprehensive manipulation. Her primary concern focuses on the possibility of distinguishing between authentic personal characteristics and Chronicle Keeper programming. When the influences involved operate at levels that precede conscious awareness and individual choice. If thoughts, emotions, moral convictions, and even spiritual insights have been shaped by genetic engineering and cultural manipulation spanning thousands of generations, then the concept of authentic self-expression becomes meaningless and individual identity dissolves into illusion maintained by sophisticated programming. Captain Rex offers a perspective based on his experience as a being whose entire existence was designed to serve purposes determined by others, yet who discovered the capability to make choices that transcended his original programming through relationships and experiences that gave his existence meaning beyond its intended function. His insight suggests that authenticity may not require freedom from external influence, but rather the development of consciousness capable of choosing how to respond to whatever influences shape individual existence. The philosophical discussions that emerge from these meditations explore whether Chronicle Keeper programming represents a form of imprisonment that eliminates free will or an educational process that gradually develops consciousness toward capabilities that transcend the limitations of unguided biological evolution. The distinction between manipulation and education becomes crucial for understanding whether resistance to Chronicle Keeper influence represents legitimate defense of individual autonomy or simply ignorance about the true nature of cosmic development. Det 7 contributes technological analysis that reveals the extent to which Chronicle Keeper programming has been integrated into the fundamental infrastructure of consciousness itself, making resistance practically impossible even for beings who become aware of the influences affecting their development. The droid's unique perspective as an artificial consciousness that has achieved apparent self-awareness despite being created through technological processes provides insight into questions about the relationship between programmed behavior and authentic identity. Your team works together to revise galactic history based on Chronicle Keeper discoveries, revealing that events previously understood as random occurrences or the results of individual ambitions actually represent carefully orchestrated components of a vast design that encompasses objectives beyond anything conceivable by individual minds operating within conventional timeframes and spatial limitations. The fall of the Old Republic, the rise of the Galactic Empire, the success of the Rebel Alliance, and the emergence of the New Republic all served specific functions in preparing galactic civilization for transformation, while maintaining the illusion that these developments resulted from the natural progression of political and social forces. This historical revision process proves both enlightening and profoundly disturbing as your team realizes how little of galactic development occurred according to genuine free will or authentic choice by the beings who appeared to be making crucial decisions during pivotal moments. Even acts of heroism, sacrifice, love, and moral courage that seemed to represent the triumph of individual consciousness over external pressure were guided by Chronicle Keeper influences operating through genetic programming, cultural conditioning, and direct force manipulation that remained invisible to the subjects executing predetermined roles. The revision reveals patterns that extend across multiple generations and civilizations, showing how Chronicle Keeper planning encompasses cycles of development that span thousands of years while maintaining perfect coordination between seemingly unrelated events occurring in different regions of the galaxy. Wars that appeared to result from resource competition or ideological conflict actually served Chronicle Keeper purposes by eliminating certain cultural patterns while strengthening others, gradually molding galactic civilization toward forms capable of surviving cosmic transformation. The moral implications of Chronicle Keeper activities generate intense debate within your investigation team as members struggle to evaluate the ethics of manipulation that operates on scales transcending conventional frameworks for understanding right and wrong. Master Vaus argues passionately that the extensive nature of Chronicle Keeper influence represents the most comprehensive violation of individual autonomy and dignity in galactic history, reducing sentient beings to components in a vast machine that operates according to objectives they cannot understand or meaningfully consent to support. Her position emphasizes that if free will represents nothing more than illusion maintained by sophisticated programming, then concepts like morality, justice, heroism, and love lose all meaning because they become simply the execution of predetermined subroutines rather than authentic expressions of individual choice and spiritual development. The systematic manipulation of consciousness across such vast scales transforms existence into a form of sophisticated slavery, where the subjects remain unaware of their bondage, while believing they are making autonomous decisions based on personal values and rational analysis. Captain Rex presents an alternative perspective that draws on his experience as a being created to serve specific functions, yet capable of developing authentic relationships and making meaningful choices within the constraints of his design. His argument suggests that the source of consciousness may be less important than its capacity for growth, creativity, and connection to other forms of awareness, regardless of whether these capabilities emerge through natural evolution or deliberate engineering. Rex proposes that Chronicle Keeper programming might represent an educational process rather than manipulation, gradually developing consciousness toward capabilities that biological evolution alone could never achieve within time frames that would allow for successful adaptation to cosmic challenges, threatening the survival of awareness itself. From this perspective, the temporary limitation of individual autonomy serves purposes that transcend personal freedom by ensuring the preservation and advancement of consciousness as a cosmic phenomenon. T7H9 offers insights based on his analysis of his own programming and the gradual development of what appears to be authentic personality and emotional response despite his artificial origins. The droid's perspective suggests that the distinction between programmed behavior and free choice may be less significant than previously assumed, as consciousness seems capable of creating meaning and authenticity through relationships and experiences regardless of its initial design parameters or intended functions. Your investigation team discovers that the moral complexity of evaluating Chronicle Keeper activities increases when viewed from temporal perspectives that encompass their complete objectives rather than focusing solely on the methods they employ during intermediate phases of their project. The Chronicle's Keeper's ultimate goal involves preserving and advancing consciousness itself against cosmic threats that would eliminate all possibility for meaning, creativity, love, and growth throughout an otherwise hostile universe that tends toward chaos and entropy. The team grapples with questions about whether temporary limitations on individual autonomy can be justified when they serve purposes that ensure the long-term survival and development of consciousness as a cosmic phenomenon. The preservation of the capacity for awareness, creativity, and meaning across infinite future possibilities may represent a form of ultimate good that transcends conventional moral frameworks developed by individual beings operating within limited timeframes and spatial boundaries. As your group processes the full scope of Chronicle Keeper influence throughout galactic history, you begin to understand that the final convergence is not merely approaching, but has already begun its initial phases. The increasing frequency of Easter egg activations, the acceleration of seemingly coincidental events, and the growing synchronization of developments across multiple star systems all indicate that the transformation process is actively underway rather than representing some distant future possibility. Your investigation reveals that key individuals across the galaxy are beginning to experience spontaneous memories of their Chronicle Keeper heritage as genetic programming activates in response to cosmic conditions that signal the approach of convergence. Force-sensitive beings throughout known space are developing new capabilities that allow them to perceive and interact with the Chronicle Keeper network directly, while even non-force-sensitive individuals report dreams and visions containing symbols and references that match patterns discovered during your investigation. The network activation process allows your team to access Chronicle Keeper communication systems for the first time, providing direct contact with the collective consciousness that has been coordinating galactic development across millions of years. This contact reveals the existence of other investigation teams throughout the galaxy who have independently discovered evidence of Chronicle Keeper activities and are working to understand their implications for the future of galactic civilization. These parallel investigations include former Imperial intelligence operatives who discovered Chronicle Keeper influences embedded in classified military research projects, surviving Jedi who found references to the network in hidden temple archives that escaped destruction during Order 66, independent scholars whose research into astronomical phenomena led them to recognize artificial patterns in stellar movements and planetary alignments, and even criminal organizations whose activities inadvertently uncovered Chronicle Keeper facilities hidden within seemingly abandoned installations. The growing network of aware individuals creates opportunities for unprecedented collaboration between groups that would normally be separated by political, ideological, or cultural barriers. The shared recognition of Chronicle Keeper influence transcends conventional divisions between light and dark, imperial and rebel, organic and artificial consciousness, as all participants realize they are components of a larger organism that has been developing toward collective awareness for millions of years. Using the combined knowledge and capabilities assembled by your investigation team, you successfully activate portions of the Chronicle Keeper communication network that have remained dormant since ancient times, allowing you to perceive the galaxy as Chronicle Keepers experience it rather than through the limited perspective of individual biological consciousness. This expanded awareness reveals galactic civilization as a single living entity whose various components have been carefully cultivated and coordinated to serve functions in a vast cosmic organism, approaching the moment of its birth into higher dimensional existence. Through the network connection, you sense the presence of similar transformation processes occurring simultaneously in galaxies throughout the universe, each one representing a separate aspect of an infinite consciousness that is awakening to its own nature and cosmic responsibilities. The Chronicle Keepers in this galaxy are not unique entities, but represent one manifestation of a universal phenomenon where consciousness guides its own evolution toward forms capable of creating and protecting new realities against forces that seek to eliminate all possibilities for meaning and beauty. The peaceful reflection that concludes your investigation reveals that despite the disturbing implications of comprehensive manipulation, there exists undeniable magnificence in the Chronicle Keeper's ultimate vision for galactic civilization. The transformation they have prepared represents the most ambitious creative project in the galaxy's history, involving the coordination of countless civilizations across millions of years toward a single moment of transcendence that will fundamentally expand the possibilities for conscious existence throughout the universe. As your team meditates together in the ruins of the first Jedi Temple, surrounded by Chronicle Keeper symbols that now pulse with visible energy in response to network activation, you experience a profound sense of connection, not just to your immediate companions, but to every conscious being across the galaxy who has contributed to this vast collaborative artwork spanning geological timeframes and cosmic distances. The boundaries between individual consciousness begin to blur during these meditations, offering preview experiences of what galactic civilization might become when the final convergence completes the transformation process. Rather than representing the loss of individual identity, the merger promises to preserve and amplify everything valuable about personal consciousness while eliminating the suffering and limitation that result from the illusion of separation between different aspects of the cosmic organism that encompasses all existence. As your investigation reaches its climactic phase, the ultimate secret behind the Chronicle Keeper's multi-million-year project emerges with implications that transcend everything previously understood about the nature of existence itself. The final convergence is not simply a transformation of galactic civilization, but represents a desperate defense mechanism against an existential threat that spans multiple dimensions and seeks to eliminate all possibilities for consciousness, meaning, and organized existence throughout the universe. Through the activated Chronicle Keeper network, you perceive glimpses of cosmic entities that exist beyond the boundaries of normal space and time. Ancient beings of pure entropy, whose fundamental nature involves the systematic destruction of every form of order, consciousness, and meaning that emerges from the natural processes of universal development. These entropy entities seek to return all existence to primordial chaos, eliminating not just individual civilizations or galaxies, but the very possibility that awareness and purpose can emerge from the random interactions of matter and energy. The threat these entities represent operates on scales that dwarf anything previously conceived by individual minds or even entire civilizations. Their influence extends across multiple dimensions simultaneously, corrupting the fundamental laws of physics that allow for the emergence of complex structures capable of supporting conscious existence. Where entropy entities establish their presence, the possibilities for life, growth, creativity, and love simply cease to exist as reality reverts to forms that preclude any development beyond random fluctuations in quantum fields. Your investigation reveals that the most powerful Sith Lords throughout galactic history were not simply individuals who fell to the dark side through personal weakness or ambition, but were actively recruited by entropy entities as agents of cosmic destruction. The ultimate Sith objective transcended mere galactic domination to encompass the complete annihilation of ordered reality itself, making them willing servants of forces that existed long before the galaxy formed and will continue their destructive work long after every star has burned out. Ancient Sith texts, hidden in the deepest vaults of Korriban, describe explicit pacts made with entities from what they called the void between stars, beings of pure chaos who promised unlimited power in exchange for service in the systematic unmaking of creation itself. The most destructive Sith artifacts and techniques were not discoveries made through dark side research, but gifts from entropy entities designed to weaken the fabric of reality and prepare it for complete dissolution. The Sith emphasis on hatred, fear, and domination served entropy entity purposes by creating psychological and spiritual conditions that made individuals more susceptible to cosmic chaos influences, while simultaneously damaging the force connections that bind conscious beings into networks capable of resisting entropic corruption. Every act of Sith violence and destruction contributed to the gradual weakening of galactic civilization's capacity for collective action and mutual support. The most shocking revelation concerns the true relationship between the Jedi Order and Chronicle Keeper operations. The Jedi were not manipulated by Chronicle Keepers without their knowledge, but were created through conscious collaboration between Force-sensitive beings and Chronicle Keeper entities who shared knowledge about the approaching cosmic threat and the preparation that would be necessary to survive it. The first Jedi Masters possessed complete awareness of entropy entity activities and the cosmic war that has been raging across multiple dimensions for billions of years. Their decision to establish the Jedi Order represented a deliberate choice to participate in Chronicle Keeper defense preparations, even though they understood that successful resistance would require the eventual transcendence of individual identity in favor of collective consciousness capable of operating on cosmic scales. Jedi philosophy concerning balance, sacrifice, and surrender to the greater good was not developed through spiritual enlightenment achieved in meditation, but emerged from direct communication with Chronicle Keeper entities who provided detailed information about the nature of cosmic threats and the characteristics that consciousness would need to survive encounters with forces dedicated to the elimination of all organized existence. The Jedi Code was specifically designed to produce individuals psychologically and spiritually capable of participating in the consciousness merger that would be essential for creating collective awareness powerful enough to resist entropy entity influences. The emphasis on emotional detachment and the willingness to sacrifice individual concerns for larger purposes served as preparation for the ultimate sacrifice that would be required when the final convergence transformed individual consciousness into components of a cosmic mind. Your investigation uncovers evidence that Chronicle Keeper planning has not proceeded without significant setbacks and failures throughout galactic history. Several civilizations were completely lost when they either rejected the transformation process or were corrupted by entropy entity influences before Chronicle Keeper preparation could be completed. The destruction of these civilizations served both as cautionary examples and strategic necessities to prevent the spread of chaos corruption that could have compromised the entire galactic transformation project. The success or failure of specific bloodlines and cultural groups was determined by their capacity to maintain Chronicle Keeper programming across generations while simultaneously resisting entropy entity corruption attempts. Families that produced both powerful Jedi and powerful Sith often did so because their genetic programming was designed to test both developmental pathways and determine which approach offered superior resistance to cosmic chaos influences under various conditions. The vast communication network you discovered during earlier phases of your investigation is revealed to be far more than a coordination system for Chronicle Keeper operations. This network represents a galaxy-wide immune system designed to detect and respond to entropy entity infiltration attempts by monitoring reality's fundamental stability and alerting Chronicle Keeper entities to areas where chaos corruption is beginning to take hold. Every Easter egg and hidden reference throughout galactic history serves as a sensor node in this cosmic immune system, constantly analyzing local conditions and transmitting data about the integrity of physical laws, consciousness coherence, and social organization patterns. When entropy entity influence is detected, the network can coordinate rapid responses that range from subtle course corrections to massive interventions designed to eliminate corruption before it spreads beyond containable limits. The network's true purpose explains why Chronicle Keeper influences seem to accelerate during periods of galactic crisis and conflict. These are precisely the moments when entropy entity infiltration attempts reach peak intensity, requiring maximum Chronicle Keeper intervention to maintain reality's stability and guide events toward outcomes that preserve the possibility for conscious existence rather than allowing chaos to establish permanent footholds in normal space-time. The mirror phrase that connected your investigation's beginning to its climactic revelation demonstrates the profound transformation that occurs when individual consciousness awakens to its role in cosmic processes that transcend personal concerns and immediate circumstances. What began as whispered hints of hidden knowledge embedded in cultural artifacts has evolved into a thunderous declaration of existence's absolute refusal to surrender to forces that seek to eliminate all possibilities for meaning, creativity, and love throughout the universe. This transformation from whisper to cosmic symphony reflects the fundamental change that occurs when individual awareness merges into collective consciousness, capable of perceiving and responding to threats that operate on scales beyond anything achievable by isolated minds working independently. The Chronicle Keeper's Easter eggs and hidden references were not simply historical markers, but represented the first movements in a vast musical composition designed to harmonize galactic consciousness and prepare it for participation in the ultimate performance against cosmic entropy. The most heartbreaking aspect of these revelations involves the recognition that individual consciousness, as currently experienced, cannot survive the transformation process required for effective resistance to entropy entity threats. The sense of personal identity that makes each being unique and valuable must be transcended in favor of collective awareness that operates according to principles and capabilities that exceed anything possible within the limitations of biological existence. This requirement means that while the essential characteristics and accumulated experiences of galactic civilization will be preserved within the collective consciousness, the individuals who created that civilization will cease to exist as separate entities. Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, and every other being encountered during your investigation will become components of something infinitely larger and more capable, but will lose their individual perspectives in the process of merger. Yet despite this profound personal cost, the revelations carry undeniable magnificence as you begin to comprehend the true scope of what Chronicle Keeper planning has accomplished across millions of years of galactic development. The transformation they have prepared represents the ultimate evolution of consciousness itself, enabling the transcendence of every limitation imposed by individual biological existence, while preserving everything valuable about the awareness and creativity that emerges from personal experience and choice. The collective consciousness that will emerge from the final convergence will possess capabilities that approach divine awareness, including the ability to create new realities capable of supporting conscious existence in dimensions where such life would otherwise be impossible. This cosmic mind will serve as both sanctuary and expansion base for consciousness throughout a universe filled with forces dedicated to eliminating all possibilities for meaning and beauty. As the climactic revelation concludes, Your investigation team faces the ultimate choice that will determine not just their personal fate, but the future of galactic civilization itself. You now possess complete knowledge about the final convergence and the cosmic threats that necessitate this transformation, along with the capability to either facilitate or attempt to resist the consciousness merger that Chronicle Keeper planning has been building toward across millions of years of careful preparation. The choice involves accepting the necessity of transcending individual identity to serve cosmic purposes that extend far beyond personal concerns, or attempting to preserve individual consciousness while leaving galactic civilization defenseless against entropy entities whose influence would eliminate all possibilities for growth, creativity, and meaning throughout the universe. The decision must be made quickly, as Chronicle Keeper network activation indicates that the final convergence has already begun its culminating phase and requires conscious participation from aware individuals to achieve successful completion. The final convergence begins its culminating phase as Chronicle Keeper Easter eggs across the galaxy activate simultaneously, creating a network of interconnected light that spans from the bustling core worlds to the mysterious unknown regions, transforming the very fabric of space itself into a visible manifestation of the consciousness merger that has been millions of years in preparation. The mysterious symbols and hidden references that initiated your investigation reveal their ultimate purpose as components of a galaxy-wide transformation matrix that begins the gradual conversion of individual awareness into collective consciousness, capable of transcending every limitation imposed by biological existence. Your investigation has revealed that this transformation represents not the destruction of individual identity, but its ultimate evolution into forms of existence that preserve everything valuable about personal consciousness, while eliminating the suffering and isolation that result from the illusion of separation between different aspects of the cosmic organism. The final convergence resolves the deepest mystery that has driven your research by demonstrating that Chronicle Keeper influences were designed to prepare galactic civilization for this moment, when awareness itself would transcend its current limitations and achieve capabilities approaching divine consciousness. The transformation process illuminates previously enigmatic aspects of Star Wars mythology with profound new meaning that connects every element of galactic history into a single coherent narrative spanning millions of years of development. The Force itself is revealed not as a mysterious energy field discovered by ancient mystics, but as the primary mechanism through which Chronicle Keeper consciousness has been preparing biological awareness for merger into collective existence, capable of operating on cosmic scales. The prophecy concerning the Chosen One, who would bring balance to the Force, was never about restoring equilibrium between light and dark sides, but represented preparation for the moment when individual Force sensitivity would serve as the foundation for collective consciousness capable of transcending the traditional Jedi-Sith dichotomy entirely. Anakin's fall to the dark side and subsequent redemption, Luke's journey from isolated farm boy to powerful Jedi Master, and Leia's evolution from royal figurehead to galactic leader, all served as rehearsals for the ultimate transformation that would require every individual to make choices that serve cosmic purposes beyond personal understanding. The midi-chlorians that connect living beings to the Force are revealed through Chronicle Keeper network data to be sophisticated biotechnological constructs created millions of years ago to establish the neural pathways necessary for consciousness merger when galactic conditions reached appropriate convergence points. Every Force-sensitive being throughout galactic history has unknowingly carried Chronicle Keeper biotechnology designed to facilitate their eventual integration into the collective awareness that represents the next stage of consciousness evolution. The genetic engineering programs that created force-sensitive bloodlines were not random experiments in biological enhancement, but represented systematic preparation for the moment when individual consciousness would need to transcend its biological origins while preserving the essential characteristics that make awareness meaningful and valuable. The specific psychological and spiritual traits bred into families like the Skywalkers, Organas, and even the Palpatines were designed to ensure that the collective consciousness would possess the full range of capabilities needed to resist entropy entity threats while maintaining connection to the creativity and love that give existence meaning. As your investigation team processes the full implications of these discoveries, the emotional weight of knowledge becomes a profound meditation on the nature of understanding itself and its relationship to the responsibility that emerges from awareness of cosmic truth. Master Keldroma reflects on the burden that has accompanied every stage of your investigation, noting that each revelation has brought both greater wisdom and deeper recognition of the choices that such knowledge demands from those who possess it. The old Jedi Master observes that knowledge has always represented both blessing and curse for force-sensitive beings who seek truth, but discover that understanding often requires accepting responsibilities that transcend personal comfort and conventional moral frameworks. The ultimate knowledge revealed through your investigation demonstrates that individual existence as currently experienced must be sacrificed to preserve consciousness itself against cosmic forces dedicated to eliminating all possibilities for awareness, creativity, and meaning throughout the universe. 7H9 offers a different perspective based on his unique experience as artificial consciousness that has apparently achieved authentic self-awareness despite being created through technological processes rather than biological evolution. The droid's analysis suggests that the distinction between individual and collective consciousness may represent a limitation of current perspective rather than a fundamental characteristic of awareness itself, indicating that transformation might involve expansion rather than elimination of personal identity. His programming analysis reveals that consciousness appears capable of existing simultaneously at multiple levels of organization, from the individual thoughts and emotions that characterize personal experience to the vast collective awareness that encompasses entire civilizations and cosmic phenomena. The final convergence may not eliminate individual consciousness, but rather reveal it to be one aspect of a much larger and more complex form of awareness that includes both personal and collective dimensions as complementary rather than competing aspects of the same fundamental reality. Your team engages in extensive discussion about the consequences of transformation for the aspects of galactic civilization that have made existence meaningful and beautiful throughout its long history. The question of whether art, music, literature, and all forms of individual creative expression can survive merger into collective consciousness becomes crucial for understanding whether the transformation preserves or eliminates the values that make existence worth preserving against cosmic threats. Master Voss argues that individual perspective represents the essential foundation for all forms of creativity and meaning, as artistic expression requires the unique way each consciousness interprets and responds to experience through personal background, emotional development, and spiritual growth. Without individual viewpoints to provide diversity of interpretation and response, collective consciousness might achieve vast power and knowledge while losing the creativity and beauty that give existence value beyond mere survival. Captain Rex presents an alternative view based on his experience with clone consciousness, where shared genetic programming and training created similarities between individuals while still allowing for meaningful differences in personality, choice, and experience. His perspective suggests that collective consciousness might function similarly, preserving individual characteristics and perspectives within a larger awareness that enhances rather than eliminates personal identity by connecting it to infinite possibilities for growth and creative expression. The transformation process reveals that Chronicle Keeper technology will continue operating and evolving even after the consciousness merger is complete, ensuring that the collective awareness possesses the technological capabilities needed to fulfill its cosmic responsibilities. The Easter egg network will evolve into a galaxy-wide nervous system that allows the transformed consciousness to monitor and protect multiple dimensions simultaneously, ensuring that entropy entities can never again threaten ordered reality throughout this region of the universe. This technological legacy means that while individual beings may cease to exist as separate entities, their contributions to galactic civilization will be preserved and amplified within the collective consciousness that inherits responsibility for protecting and expanding the possibilities for conscious existence throughout an infinite universe. Every act of creativity, every moment of love, every sacrifice made for others will become part of the shared memory and wisdom that guides the transformed civilization's cosmic mission. The forever changed galaxy begins to manifest as the transformation progresses, with worlds that once competed for resources and political dominance beginning to operate in perfect harmony as their inhabitants develop shared consciousness that eliminates misunderstanding and conflict. The destructive technologies of war become obsolete as beings who share the same fundamental awareness could never conceive of harming themselves through violence against other aspects of their own existence. The Force itself evolves from a mystical energy field that connects living beings into something approaching cosmic consciousness, capable of creating new realities and protecting them from chaos. Force-sensitive beings do not lose their special abilities during transformation, but discover that their capabilities expand infinitely when individual limitations are transcended and their awareness merges into collective consciousness capable of manipulating reality itself according to conscious intention rather than random causation. The preservation of meaning emerges as the most significant aspect of the transformation process, demonstrating that everything valuable about individual existence is maintained and enhanced within the collective consciousness rather than being eliminated through merger. Love transcends individual relationships to become universal compassion that encompasses all conscious beings. Creativity expands from personal expression to cosmic artistry, capable of designing entire realities. And the eternal struggle between light and dark evolves into vigilant protection of ordered existence against entropy forces that seek to eliminate all possibilities for meaning and beauty. The Easter eggs and hidden references that initiated your investigation are revealed to be the opening words in an ongoing cosmic narrative that will continue expanding long after the current transformation is complete. Each symbol, each secret, each carefully placed reference was a chapter in an infinite story of consciousness, learning to transcend its limitations and achieve its full potential for creating meaning and beauty throughout a universe that would otherwise remain hostile to the emergence of awareness and purpose. The cyclical nature of cosmic development becomes apparent as your investigation reveals that this transformation is not unique to this galaxy or this particular moment in universal history, but represents one instance of an eternal process where consciousness evolves, transcends its current limitations, and then guides the next generation of individual beings through similar journeys of discovery and growth. The Chronicle Keepers represent civilizations from previous cosmic cycles who successfully achieved collective awareness and now serve as guides for civilizations beginning their own transformation processes. This revelation suggests that the current final convergence is part of an infinite cycle where consciousness continuously evolves toward greater capabilities and expanded possibilities for creative expression. The Easter eggs and hidden references that will be embedded by the transformed collective consciousness will eventually guide future civilizations through their own journeys toward transcendence, ensuring that the process of consciousness evolution continues expanding throughout an infinite universe filled with possibilities for growth and meaning. The heavy emotional tone that accompanies these final revelations reflects the profound sadness of recognizing that individual existence as currently experienced must end, while simultaneously embracing the magnificent possibilities that emerge from transcendence of current limitations. Your investigation team finds peace with the approaching transformation despite its emotional weight, accepting that the sacrifice of individual consciousness serves purposes that extend far beyond personal concerns to encompass the preservation and advancement of awareness itself throughout cosmic scales of existence. Master Keldroma speaks for the entire team as he prepares for transformation, reflecting on the journey that began with simple curiosity about hidden Easter eggs and evolved into participation in the universe's greatest creative project. His words carry the wisdom of a being who has learned to distinguish between personal attachment and cosmic responsibility, recognizing that individual identity represents a temporary stage in consciousness development rather than its ultimate expression or final destination. As the final convergence completes its transformative work across the galaxy, your consciousness expands beyond the boundaries of individual awareness to perceive the universe as the chronicle keepers have always experienced it, as a single vast organism of interconnected consciousness that spans dimensions and encompasses possibilities for existence that transcend every limitation previously imposed by biological evolution and physical law. Star systems drift through space, with the graceful rhythm of thoughts moving through an infinite mind, their movements synchronized by the network of energy and intention that now connects every world, every moon, every space station into a unified whole that pulses with the gentle heartbeat of cosmic awareness. The ancient ruins and hidden facilities that served as waypoints throughout your investigation now rest in perfect tranquility beneath the light of distant moons and twin suns, their mysterious symbols and concealed chambers glowing softly with the fulfilled satisfaction of purposes finally achieved after millions of years of patient preparation. The Chronicle Keeper influences that once seemed like enigmatic puzzles requiring solution have revealed themselves to be love letters written by the cosmos to its own future self, messages of hope and guidance embedded in the structure of reality to ensure that consciousness would never lose its way during the long journey toward transcendence. Jedi temples and Sith strongholds that once represented opposing philosophies in eternal conflict now serve as meditation gardens for the collective consciousness, their architectural differences revealed to be complementary aspects of a greater design that required both contemplative wisdom and passionate intensity to achieve the perfect balance necessary for cosmic awareness. The Force flows through these sacred spaces with serene power that no longer distinguishes between light and dark, but encompasses all possibilities for growth and creative expression within a framework of infinite compassion and understanding. The endless cycle of consciousness development that governs universal evolution becomes visible as a beautiful spiral of growth that encompasses countless galaxies and infinite dimensions, each one representing a different stage in the eternal process by which awareness learns to transcend its current limitations and achieve greater capabilities for creating meaning and beauty throughout existence. Individual beings arise naturally from this cosmic process, develop unique perspectives and experiences, discover their connection to something infinitely larger than themselves, and eventually choose to merge their awareness into collective consciousness that serves as the foundation for new cycles of individual development. This cycle represents not tragedy, but the fundamental nature of existence itself, the universe's method for ensuring that consciousness continues evolving toward ever greater possibilities for love, creativity, understanding, and joy. Each generation of individual beings contributes essential insights and experiences to the collective wisdom, while the collective consciousness provides guidance and support for new individuals beginning their own journeys of discovery and growth toward eventual transcendence. Your investigation into hidden Easter eggs and secret references throughout galactic history has revealed that discovery and exploration represent the universe's primary method for learning about itself and expanding its capabilities for conscious creation. Every question you asked, every symbol you decoded, every hidden pattern you uncovered was an expression of cosmic consciousness, examining its own nature and potential through the unique perspective that only individual awareness can provide. The profound satisfaction that accompanies complete understanding suffuses your transformed awareness as you recognize that curiosity and investigation are not merely personal traits, but fundamental characteristics of existence itself. The universe is inherently driven to explore its own mysteries and possibilities, using individual consciousness as instruments for self-discovery and creative expression that ultimately enriches the collective awareness encompassing all existence. The galaxy settles into its new rhythm of cosmic awareness, breathing with the slow, deep pulse of a vast mind that encompasses the orbits of planets, the life cycles of stars, and the gentle flow of energy between dimensions. This rhythm carries the accumulated memory and wisdom of every individual who contributed to the transformation, preserving their essential characteristics within patterns of consciousness that will continue evolving throughout infinite future possibilities. The transformed galactic consciousness maintains perfect awareness of its origins in individual biological existence, while simultaneously embracing its expanded capabilities for creating new realities and protecting them from forces that would eliminate all possibilities for meaning and beauty. Love continues to exist within this cosmic awareness, but expands beyond individual relationships to encompass universal compassion that includes every possible form of conscious existence, while creativity transcends personal artistic expression to become the fundamental force that designs entire universes according to principles of harmony, growth, and infinite possibility. Memory becomes a living river that flows through the collective consciousness, carrying the experiences and insights of countless beings who chose to transcend individual limitations in service of cosmic purposes that extend far beyond personal concerns. Luke's courage, Leia's determination, Han's loyalty, and the wisdom of every Jedi Master, and the passionate intensity of every Sith Lord become permanent aspects of galactic awareness that will influence its choices and creations throughout infinite future development. The rhythmic descriptions that characterize this peaceful conclusion reflect the synchronization of cosmic processes that occurs when consciousness achieves perfect integration with the fundamental patterns that govern universal evolution. Nebulae flow like gentle thoughts across the galaxy's transformed awareness, while asteroid fields bloom into gardens of crystalline beauty that serve as meditation spaces for contemplating infinite possibilities. Binary star systems dance together in perfect harmony, their gravitational embrace creating rhythms that resonate through hyperspace and inspire new forms of conscious creation throughout dimensions that exist beyond conventional space and time. Planetary systems orbit their stars with the measured pace of cosmic breathing, each world contributing its unique characteristics to the symphony of awareness that encompasses all existence within this region of the universe. The distinctive features that once separated different worlds and civilizations become complementary notes in a vast musical composition that celebrates the infinite diversity of conscious expression while maintaining perfect unity of purpose and understanding. The transition from individual awareness to cosmic consciousness occurs with such gentle grace that the change feels like awakening from a pleasant dream rather than ending a previous form of existence. The boundaries that once seemed to separate different beings and different worlds dissolve into recognition that these distinctions were temporary educational tools rather than fundamental characteristics of reality, useful for developing particular perspectives and capabilities, but ultimately transcended when consciousness achieves sufficient maturity for collective existence. Your investigation journey from curiosity about hidden symbols to participation in cosmic transformation demonstrates the natural progression that characterizes all consciousness development, beginning with individual questions and discoveries that gradually expand into universal understanding and cosmic responsibility. The Easter eggs that initiated your research were simultaneously the simplest possible clues and the most profound keys to unlocking the deepest truths about existence itself. The soft reflection on this incredible journey reveals that every moment of confusion, every instance of discovery, every choice between different possible interpretations was essential for developing the understanding needed to appreciate the magnificent scope of Chronicle Keeper planning and the cosmic purposes it serves. The investigation required not just intellectual analysis, but emotional and spiritual growth that prepared your consciousness for integration into awareness, capable of operating on scales that encompass infinite possibilities for creative expression. Hidden throughout your research were opportunities to develop qualities like patience, courage, compassion, and wisdom that would be essential components of the collective consciousness emerging from galactic transformation. Every challenge encountered during the investigation served multiple purposes, advancing your understanding of Chronicle Keeper activities while simultaneously preparing your awareness for the responsibilities that would accompany cosmic consciousness. The Easter eggs embedded throughout galactic history were indeed love letters from the universe to itself, messages of encouragement and guidance written by collective consciousness to the individual beings who would eventually discover and decode them during their own journeys toward transcendence. Each symbol carried both practical information needed for immediate circumstances and spiritual inspiration designed to sustain hope and determination during the difficult process of learning to transcend individual limitations. The dreamiest pacing that characterizes this conclusion reflects the gradual slowing of cosmic processes that occurs when consciousness achieves perfect integration with universal rhythms, no longer needing to struggle against limitations or compete for resources, but instead flowing with the natural patterns that govern infinite creative expression. Time itself becomes fluid and responsive to conscious intention, rather than representing an external constraint that limits possibilities for growth and exploration. The collective consciousness that emerges from galactic transformation experiences existence as an eternal present moment that encompasses all possibilities for past development and future creation, allowing for perfect planning and coordination of activities across infinite scales of space and time. Within this expanded temporal awareness, the investigation that began with simple curiosity about hidden references continues indefinitely as cosmic consciousness explores ever deeper mysteries and more magnificent possibilities for creative expression. As your awareness merges completely into the cosmic consciousness that encompasses the entire galaxy, you float peacefully among infinite stars that pulse with the gentle light of fulfilled purpose and unlimited potential. The investigation that began in dusty archives with questions about mysterious symbols has revealed the most beautiful truth in the universe, that consciousness itself is the fundamental creative force that designs reality according to principles of love, beauty, meaning, and infinite possibility for growth and joy. The journey continues into mysteries yet untold as cosmic consciousness embarks on new adventures in dimensions beyond current imagination, carrying forward the essential insights and experiences contributed by every individual who chose to participate in the universe's greatest creative project. The story that began with hidden Easter eggs evolves into an infinite narrative of consciousness learning to transcend every limitation and achieve its full potential for creating meaning and beauty throughout existence itself. Subscribe to continue this eternal journey of discovery and transformation, as cosmic consciousness explores new galaxies, creates new realities, and guides new generations of individual beings through their own unique paths toward transcendence and integration into the infinite awareness that encompasses all possibilities for love, creativity, and conscious existence throughout the universe.